Daquina, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So nice to be here again with all of you. And I know you're all raring to go. Diba? Excited na excited yata kayo. I even got some emails in the middle of the week. I forgot to tell you, Dindo. They wanted more of this. So sabi ko, good. And the only reward my son and I and Father Ben we get is that you really practice it and you really learn it. And diba, alam natin practice kailangan ng practice, diba? We did grade 1 and grade 2 topics last week. Basically, yung 4 fundamental operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Hopefully, kailangan na natin mag-problem solving ngayon, basic problem solving. And then, we introduce a bit of fractions. Kailangan talaga nating malaman yung fractions. Kasi marami din kayong tanong, di ba? For how do you teach fractions well? My answer there is you have to really take time to practice, as you can see what we did last week. But I was having a talk with Father Ben yesterday, and I told him there were certain concerns you had. Di ba tinanong ninyo last week na hindi ko talagang masagot kasi sinabi ninyo, nakita nga ninyo, sinabi ninyo that kailangan natin ng panahon. Hindi natin pwedeng bilisan to kasi foundational yung math. Kailangan natin ng panahon, hindi ko, kahit na gusto ko, hindi ko kayang magbigay ng maraming topics, basta magmamadali tayo. So, and some of the questions you were asking, you were saying, medyo natatakot kayo kasi how do you do this in school? Kasi, well, congested nga yung K-12 curriculum. And I remember sinabi ko, naku, hindi ko yan masagot kasi and I also told you that we should focus on the things that we can do and not so much complain about the things we cannot do. I think yan yung sinabi ko last week. Pero ano nga na nasasayangan din ako kung ang dami-dami ninyo, sabi nga ni Dindo, there are 20,000 of you. If 20,000 of you are really, and many of you are serious about really practicing and taking time to do math problems. And kung pagbalik niyo sa paaralan, nagmamadali kayo ulit, hindi niyo matapos, mahirap, So I also know, I know where you're coming from. So nag-usap kami ni Father Ben kahapon. And the good thing is Father Ben has ideas on how we can, on how especially you in the public schools can maybe take more time with the math topics, fractions, ratio, percent, decimals, for instance. How, given the constraints that you told me and that we know about the curriculum that we are supposed to follow now, and sabi nga niyo, pandemic pa nga na yun, di ba? So, yung maganda doon is, Father Ben has very good practical ideas on how maybe you can implement that in a way. So, Ningning was supposed to introduce Father Ben. I don't know if Ningning is there. Ayun, Ning. Ayan, Ning.
Yes, thank you, Daquina, sorry. Yeah, so
Ning, you can, I turn it over, I can just say that Father Ben is my mentor. He's practically my second father. So he's my mentor and I'm very honest with him. And he's very honest with me also about the things we face in the Philippines, the realities. And so, pero Ningning, I think Father Ben deserves a more formal introduction. Founding chair for life na ng Sinergia, si Father Ben. So Ning, can you take it away? And Father Ben can now deliver his message. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Daquina. So I'd like to introduce Father Ben to all of you. Father Ben is with us in Sinergia. He's been with Sinergia from the beginning, from 2002 when it started. He was the chair of Sinergia Foundation back then and still is the chairman emeritus of Sinergia Foundation. He was a long time president of Ateneo de Manila and he's everybody's idol like mine. I love Father Ben. He's so wise and he's so kind. He's so hardworking and We will all get a lot from him from this morning. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce him already to you so he'd give us a little inspiration for this morning. So Father Ben.
Thank you, Ning Ning. Thank you, Queen Anne. Thank you, Nene, for this occasion. So I wrote down things so that I will not stray too far. So natutuwa ako. I'm really happy to give this inspirational talk for this sessions with Quina and Scott on teaching math the Singapore way, led by Sinaria Foundation. First, because a lot of my academic life has been given to trying to improve teaching and learning mathematics in our country for more than 50 years. I've been pinaghihikapan ko ito talaga. And especially in the public schools. Kasi sabi ko naman sa Ateneo na anumang gawin natin, 90% of Filipino children go to the public schools. I think 93% go to public elementary and maybe 85% go to public high schools. And also, of course, because of my roots, pinanggalingan ko. Although I was president of Ateneo de Manila for many years, I actually grew up in Bacnotan, La Union, and I went to grade school in Bacnotan Elementary School. It's now called Bacnotan Central Elementary School. Baka kukunti lang elementary school noon, kaya just called Bacnotan Elementary School. And I actually did my high school in the seminary in Vigan. So greetings also to those from Vigan here. I spent 3-4 years there in high school. I still remember the math book we used in Bacnotan Elementary School. It was Stone Winkle Arithmetic. And I remember doing all the problems there with a neighbor who needed a lot of help. So ang tulong ko sa kanya talagang inuna namin lahat yung mga problema sa Stone Winkle Arithmetic, and we worked and tried all of them. So I just want to make 2 points with you. Kasi yung mga iba pwede nang gawin ni Quina. Ang ginagawa ni Quina is ni Scott. And then after that, I would also talk about the problems you have with the curriculum. First of all, the first point I want to make is that learning anything, and in particular learning mathematics, takes time. Kailangan talaga ng panahon. Hindi pwedeng madalian. No? The reason I did well in math and other subjects is I really studied hard. I gave a lot of time. I spent a lot of my time studying. Kailangan talaga ng panahon. I'll give you an example. In Ateneo High School in the 1980s yata yun, the principal, actually a former president, Father Joe Cruz, told me that the pupils in Ateneo High School in the so-called general sections were failing math. They were not doing well in math. So tanong niya sa akin, anong pwedeng gawin? Sabi ko, try to give them more time. So actually, I don't know how he do it. He managed to double the time. In other words, instead of maybe 5 classes a week, he gave them 10 classes a week. It worked. They caught up, and they did well. In other words, for many students, they simply need more time. And it takes time to learn anything. It takes time to learn mathematics. That's first. The second is mathematics and language. We don't often talk about this, mathematics and language. One thing about myself growing up in Bacnotan, La Union in those years, I first went to school in 1946, is I actually first learned to read in Ilocano. I read the Ilocano version of Liwayway, but now I think I read every issue from the time I was 6 till I was 16. When I joined the Jesuits, I could not get it anymore. Bakit mahalaga yun? Of course, the Ilocano still speak Ilocano. Kaya lang, it's only important to read. It's not enough to know a language in terms of the spoken language. You only learn to use a language in a sophisticated way when you can read and write it. That way you can begin to really parse and think things through. So para sa akin nakatulong yan, that I, from early years, I was able to learn my mother tongue, Ilocano, not just spoken, but written. And so I could think in it in a fairly sophisticated way. So why do I emphasize this? Because learning to do mathematics well is a question of learning to think. and to think well. When I tell people about PISA, remember there's a big controversy about PISA. Kung pag-aralan niyo talaga yung mga PISA questions, kailangan talaga mag-isip. You really have to think in order to solve. It's not just a question of skill. I think Quina can send you the questions from PISA. Pagkikita niyo na kailangan talaga mag-isip. You really have to think. And learning to think is something, you have to learn how to think. One of the nicest compliments I got once I taught a summer high school program in Ateneo many years ago for high school students from different schools, public and private, high school students, I think third-year high school students. And I remember one of the Jesuits told me, I asked your students, how did they like your class? He said, ang sabi nila is, you taught them how to think. He taught us how to think. I'm very proud of that remark. Because ultimately, what is important in mathematics and in life is to learn to think and to think. I bring this up because thinking and language are connected. You have to think in the language. And so one of the things I try to tell people about teaching and learning mathematics is that I know that the books are in English. So maybe you can write the problem in English, but you should discuss it in a language they're comfortable with. I teach PhD students in math, PhD students. And when I give a difficult problem for them to work on together, sabi ko, you can work on this together, within a few minutes, nakasulat sa English yung problem. But within a few minutes, they are discussing it in Filipino mostly. Sometimes in Cebuano, because many of them are from the Visayas or Mindanao. But they shift to a language they're comfortable with. Because thinking deeply, whether mathematics or something else, is not only a question of the head, it's a question of your feelings. You have to be able to feel in that language. So that's the second recommendation I want to make to you. Pina and Scott will do problems with you. When you do these things with your students, you can write the problem in English kasi doon nakasulat. But then explain it in Maranao, in Maguindanao, in whatever language you or they are comfortable with, and let them discuss it in the language they're comfortable with. Of course, pag na-solve na nila, they can write a solution in English. Pero habang pinag-iisipan nila, let them do it in the language they're comfortable with. I once told this to Ateneo High School teachers. I gave them some interesting and not so easy problems from a very famous book of George Polya. I told them this story. Medyo natawa sila. So anyway, I gave them some problems. And so they started working on these problems. Medyo mahirap na konti. And then after a few minutes, I went over to them and say, what language are you? They had shifted to Filipino. Automatically. Kasi when they began to think deeply and they struggled with the question, they shifted to a language they are comfortable with. Of course, if they're comfortable with English, that's perfectly fine. Pero konting Filipino are comfortable with English in thinking deeply. So those are the two things I want to make to you, because I think if we succeed in improving problem solving in math, we're on our way to solving many problems in mathematics. So dalawang bagay, time, kailangan talaga ng panahon. Pangalawa, when you do problems, write the problem in English, but discuss it and let them students discuss it in a language in which they're comfortable. Ano bang, whatever it is, Taglish or whatever. Those are my two recommendations. If you follow this and work and they learn to do problems, I'll be happy with that. I think I'll leave to Dr. Quina and to Scott to do the rest. The other one is I want to talk to you about some of the problems you raised. So the main problem really is kulang talaga ng panahon. I've pointed this out for the last 30, 40 years. When I go through the elementary school math textbooks, kulang talaga ng panahon for fractions. There's just not enough time. There's just not enough time. They don't learn it enough. I've always said that you should determine a year, maybe grade 4, where you just spend half the year just doing fractions. there's no other way to learn. There's no other way to learn. You can talk about all kinds of methods and so forth, and pedagogy, whatever. It will not work. You simply need time. So what can we do about it? Well, there's no quick solution. There's no quick solution. But what I would suggest, maybe with Dr. Nanda Guevara, with Ning Ning and others, is let's find a division that's willing to try. And it has to be a cooperation between some principals, the math supervisor, and the division superintendent. We could try to talk to some LGUs and say, let's take a look at the areas that students do not learn. Let's say fractions. Let's just simply find a way that there is cooperation between the whole system and allocating enough time to master fractions at a certain grade. I'd say just grade 4. They just have to spend a lot of time on fractions. Of course, in the early years, the basic operations, which I think Sinakwina went through. But just agree that there are certain fundamentals now. Of course, you will have to kailangan bawasan ng panahon for other things. In elementary school, if you don't learn statistics, that's not deadly. If you don't learn any statistics in grade school, that's not gonna be a big problem in the future. But if you do not learn addition, multiplication, division, and subtraction, and you do not learn fractions, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. So I'll ask Dr. Nene, Guevara, Chiningning, Ani, Dindo here. Let's try to find a division or that is willing to work on this and really find a solution. The DepEd Central naman accepts that the curriculum is really congested. It's really congested. Kaya lang, what they do to solve the congestion is to lessen the learning competencies. That's still not enough because it does not focus. It does not focus. It's not enough to lessen the learning competencies. What you must do is to select the areas that really are most crucial for the future and give more time to them. In other words, the congestion has to be focused. It has to be focused on the things that simply must be learned. And I emphasize that it's not simply lessening the learning competencies. It is saying that learning the basic operations and learning fractions are absolute must. You can drop the other things if it is necessary, because if you learn these things, you'll be okay for the future. If you don't learn them, you may learn statistics and the other things, but you'll still be a disaster for the future. I cannot emphasize that enough. There are certain fundamentals that are building blocks for the future. So it's not just simply decongesting the curriculum. It's deciding on what are absolutely important and making sure there's enough time to them. And so decongest so that those can be learned. We'll have to find out if we can find some schools, principals, divisions that are willing to attempt this and work and get cooperation with them. We'll do our very best to help you with the DepEd. So it's really addressed to Synergia, to Dr. Nena, to Ning Ning, to Dindo, to Ani here, and working with the local school boards and divisions and that we work with and see how to work. That's one. Regarding the problem of the spiral curriculum in high school, that is more problematic. Unfortunately, even the DepEd cannot change it easily because it's in the law. You'll have to get an act of Congress to change it. That is going to take a long time. So I would suggest the same thing. Let's really sit down and talk with schools to see what has to be learned. So in high school, algebra has to be learned. Enough algebra has to be learned. Geometry, yes, but not as critical. Statistics, yes, but not as critical. But for college, the algebra simply must be learned. And so I think we'll just have to we'll just have to discuss the topics in algebra that are absolutely essential if you're going to go into college. So let me say this once more because that's what I want to say. We have to look at the topics in elementary school and in high school mathematics that are absolutely essential for the future. And we have to give enough time to them so that they are mastered. And we should be willing to sacrifice time for the other subjects so that these fundamental things are mastered. And so, I say once more, it is not just a question of decongesting the curriculum by lessening the learning competencies, which is what the DepEd is doing. That is unfocused. It has to be, the decongestion has to be for the purpose of mastering the absolutely essential. And in elementary school, it's the basic operations and whole numbers, and integers, and basic operations and fractions. Those are the most essential for the future. You'll have to live with them. And then in high school, it's really algebra. They have to learn the algebra. And for those going into science, trigonometry as well. But for everybody, the algebra. So that's what I want to say. One, time. Mathematics needs time. Two, mathematics and language are related. So when you do problem solving, please allow your students to discuss the problems, or you yourself as teachers discuss it in a language that you're all comfortable with. And let's work together so that the students learn the fundamentals, and give as much time to them as possible. So thank you again. Thank you to Quina. Thank you to Scott. Thank you to Jingling and Nana and Nani, Nido, and everybody here. And I wish you all the very best on your session today, and I think a third session that you'll have. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Father Ben. Once again, you were able to inspire us, and we're hoping to be able to do that, finding one LGU probably who can work with us to implement yung sinasabi po ninyo. So, I'd like to turn over the microphone now so we can get started. Doc Nina, ready na po kaming lahat.
Hi, Ning. Father Ben, thank you so much. It's always so, I think I can speak for everyone to say it's always so reassuring to listen to you because you do give us hope and you also give it to us straight. I think what is very clear is, I was actually taking down notes. Scott will also tell you, so we start with the 4 basic operations. And ang dami ninyong tanong about division. Remember last week, ang tagal natin sa division kasi nahihirapan tayo sa division. Okay? So, hindi naman namin uulitin kasi alam namin you practiced already. But Scott will also give you another way that the Singaporeans think about division, which is huwag kayong matakot sa division because division is just basically repeated subtraction. So, alam ko, marami, kahit naman tayong mga guro, minsan natatakot tayo, di ba? Yung long division na ano tayo. So, Scott will start with that. But I also say, I'm happy to tell you that the quote-unquote curriculum we have for you is basically what Father Ben talked about. So, kailangan na talaga natin mag-fractions kasi this is now the second time. But we promise to go through fractions slowly. And we need, again, your cooperation. So, alam ko, nandiyan na yung pen and paper ninyo. So, hindi ba? Mathematics is not a spectator sport, di ba? Pinag-usapan natin yan last week. You have to be able to practice math well. And I think hanggang next week, fractions pa rin tayo. Sabi nga ni Father Ben, we cannot hurry math. So we will go into how many of the Singapore model method can work with fractions. The emails I've gotten from some of you is you want the training to be longer. Scott and I will talk about it. I will talk about it with Ning Ning and Ma'am Nene. I'm sorry to tell you kasi hindi ko medyo ma-extend ang February, March kasi ang dami rin namin ginagawang ibang training on Saturdays. But definitely, kasi ang dami nga ninyo and you're so responsive. Yes, we will And the training will revolve on what Father Ben just told us, the very essential topics. Okay, so hindi tayo magmamadali, pero kailangan natin gawin. And hanggang ngayon yung training lang, kasi I got some emails from some high school teachers. I'm sorry, within 3 sessions, hindi ako makaka-algebra. Hindi natin kaya kasi kailangan talaga yung fractions. Pero kung may panahon, baka, Scott can show you how Singapore transitions from our original algebra a little bit, pero hindi talaga natin kaya kasi we really need time to really do fractions well. Okay, so Scott, can you take it away and start with just maybe the division, which is where we had the most problems last week.
Yep.
Show them another way of division. So and then we have to go to fractions na talaga. Okay.
Okay, magandang umaga po ulit. This is day 2 of teaching math the Singapore way. No? So to recap, last time we did yung 4 basic operations with the place value model for addition and subtraction. Yan yung mga hundreds, tens, and ones. Tapos nag-drawing po tayo ng mga blocks, ng mga bars, tsaka ng mga squares. We also took up yung area of a rectangle model for multiplication. At nakita po natin na multiplication is just like dividing a large rectangle into smaller pieces and adding up their areas. No? And we also did division model to explain yung long division, bakit po siya ganun. And we also introduced the bar model for word problems. So today, babalikan po natin yung division model for a while, tapos magpo-focus na po tayo sa bar model for the rest of the session. So briefly, yung division, last time we said na multiplication is just repeated addition. Ngayon po, we will show na division is also just repeated subtraction. So kung ganito po, 24 divided by 6. We can say 24 divided by 6. We can also just show that we subtract 6 from 24 some number of times, at yan po ang sagot sa 24 divided by 6. Ano pong ibig sabihin nun? So we can do step 1. 24 minus 6, lalabas po nun 18. No? Step 2, 18 minus 6, 12. Step 3, 12 minus 6, 6. At sa huli, step 4, 6 minus 6, 0. So, bibilangin lang po natin yung mga steps, 1, 2, 3, and 4. At yan din yung sagot sa 24 divided by 6 equals 4. At dahil 0 yung natira sa huli, remainder 0. No? So wala naman siyang butaw. And this shows you na yung multiplication, no, we just repeatedly add. Kung nalimutan po natin yung multiplication tables natin, we can always say just add. No? And in the same way, we can tell our students na kung nalimutan po natin yung paano mag-divide, we can always subtract. We can always repeatedly subtract yung 6 from 24. Let's look at 40 divided by 13 in the same way. No? Step 1, 40 minus 13 will give us 27. Step 2, 27 minus 13 gives us 14. And step 3, 14 minus 13 gives us 1. Wala na po tayong step 4 kasi mas sobrang liit na po ng 1 is smaller than 13. And then we count the number of steps, 1, 2, and 3. So the answer is 3, remainder 1. Repeated subtraction. Actually, the reason na hindi po natin kinover the last time is because, as you can see, it's not very practical. It's not as useful as yung multiplication bilang repeated addition dahil po sa remainder. Minsan madugo siya. But it's always a backup option. No? It's always available for students who don't know how to divide, nalimutan po yung division. It's always there. Do you have any other thoughts, Ma, on division?
I think it was a good thing that we have to do it here because the reactions from the teachers, we also know that many students natatakot talaga sa division saka sa multiplication. Kaya nga yung stress namin kay Scott is may nagtanong sa inyo, do you have to memorize the multiplication table? Yung sagot ko, yes, you have to memorize the multiplication table. Kailangan talaga. There's no way out. Pero, huwag silang matakot, yung mga bata. Kasi nga, multiplication is repeated addition. So, kunwari, natataranta na sila, 6 times 9, 54 ba yan? 56, 58, 49. Kung natataranta sila, they can take a deep breath and they can say, sige, alam ko mag-multiplication, nakalimutan ko lang kung ano yung multiplication table, but I can add. So 6 times 9 means you can do 6, add 6 9 times or 9 6 times. Same thing, di ba? Yan nga yung comment ninyong teachers na natutuwa kayo na parang at least ngayon, kung sinabi niyo sa mga bata, hindi na sila masyadong natatakot. Same thing here. Kasi nga yung mga bata, galit talaga sila sa long division. Kailangan ba nilang malaman yung long division? Actually, oo rin. Kailangan nila, hindi lang pwede calculator kaagad. Kailangan makagawa sila ng kaunting long division. Pero huwag din silang matakot. So, the only way they can do this is practice nga, teachers, di ba? So, that's why we're giving you this thing. But I really have to say, I wish I can tell you it's not important, but I myself had to memorize the multiplication table. Anyway, commutative property naman yan, di ba? Kung alam ng bata yung 9 times 6, alam na nila yung 6 times 9. Hindi naman kailangan yung buong multiplication table. Kalahati ng multiplication table, memorize nila, tapos ibaliktad nila, di ba? Pero kailangan talaga yon kasi I know some people are saying baka hindi na kailangan, pero in a sense, old school pa rin ako. 5 times 5, kailangan naman sana malaman ng bata, 25 yon, di ba? Father, what do you think? Am I being too strict? I think
No, because we have to explain to people that if they're going to go to high school and do algebra, they will have to multiply algebraic operations. And so they have to know the product coefficients and so forth. Essentially, and they have to be able to divide algebraic polynomials. And so there's the method is simply an extension of multiplication and division of numbers. So unfortunately, the basic operations in arithmetic extend to basic operations and polynomials in high school. So you cannot avoid learning these things because they are building blocks for the future. That's why I said they're so important. You cannot do algebra without knowing these things.
Thank you, Father. That's so reassuring again. I keep on telling, that's a debate I have with our math ed students, Father. The math ed students are saying, some books are saying you don't have to memorize it, but you're right, Father. It is so basic that it has to be automatic. Father, you were talking about mathematics before, being a marriage of hand and, Father, it's head and hand.
Head, hand, and eyes. And your eyes.
Okay. So that's Salamat, Father. Maraming salamat. Scott, go on. Are we now ready to do fractions?
We are indeed. So, nandito na po tayo, day 2, to do word problems, fractions, and percent. And so from this point on, our focus will be the bar model for word problems. Simulan po natin. Question 1, Dad bought 2 apples and 6 pesos worth of candy. He spent 20 pesos overall. How much does 1 apple cost? So ano po yung information na binigay po sa atin in the problem, Dad bought 2 apples, 6 pesos of candy. for a total of 20 pesos. Hindi pa po natin alam yung cost of one apple. In fact, that's the question. How much does one apple cost? So first we draw a bar, no? Like this. To represent yung gastos ni dad overall. And so this whole bar we say is dad expense, no? All in all, 20 pesos. So okay na po to, yung 20 pesos nakapasok na sa model. The next information that we can add to the model is 6 pesos worth of candy. So we can draw a smaller box sa loob ng mas malaking bar and say this is 6 pesos for candy. Dapat proportional yung boxes, no? So if it's 6 pesos, medyo, actually siguro somewhere here would be the division. Because 6 times 3 is 18, so medyo 1/3 of the box dapat yung division ni candy. For instance, we cannot say na yung candy na 6 pesos is this large, right? And this teaches students na dapat numeracy, dapat numerate sila. The relationships between numbers, the proportions na mas maliit talaga si 6 pesos kaysa kay 20 pesos should be reflected in the model. And the last piece of information is na dad bought 2 apples. No? And so yung buong bar na to for 2 apples, because yung 2 apples naman pareho yung presyo, we can divide this bar into 2 so that this is the cost of 1 apple. This is the cost of 1 apple. Then the question is, how much does 1 apple cost? No? So from the model, what can we see? Yung buong bar, 20 pesos. Yung maliit na bar na candy, 6 pesos. Ibig sabihin, yung part na to, which represents 2 apples, is also 20 minus 6 equals 14 pesos. At dahil pareho yung presyo ng apple, kasing haba yung haba ng dalawang bars, 14 represents 2 apples, no? 2 boxes. Then 1 box would be 14 divided by 2, 7 pesos. And so each apple costs 7 pesos. So ano po yung process na ginawa natin? First, we looked at the question to see what are the given, what are the information given to us. No? Step 2 is to draw a bar model. At pasukan po natin ng model yung lahat ng information na binigay sa atin. So in this case, we were given 20 pesos, 6 pesos, and 2 apples. At lahat po niyan, pinasok po natin sa model. And step 3 is look at the model. Ano pong malalaman natin based on the picture. No? And in this case, we saw na yung bar na to represents 2 apples, but it also represents 20 minus 6 equals 14. And from there, na-solve po natin na 1 apple costs 7 pesos. So I'll demo it again on another question. So question 2, Jen has 4 times as many apples as oranges. She has 2 more oranges than pears. She has 21 more apples than oranges. How many pears does Jen have? So ano pong information yung binigay sa atin? First, we see Jen has apples, oranges, and pears. So alam natin na mag-drawing tayo ng apples, oranges, and pears. The first sentence, no? Jen has 4 times as many apples as oranges. So kung magdodrawing po tayo ng box kay oranges, let's say something like this. Alam din natin na yung haba ng box ni apples should be 4 times as long as yung box ni oranges. Siguro something like this. 1, 2, 3. So okay na po tayo sa first sentence, no? Na Jen has 4 times as many apples as oranges. So yung haba ng box ni apples is 4 times yung oranges. No? And we don't know yet. Yeah.
Scott, I'll interrupt. Make it easier. Jen has 4 times as many apples as oranges. Kung isa yung box ng oranges, Jen has 4 times as many apples. Kung isa yung box ng oranges, and yung apples niya is 4 times as many, ibig sabihin nun, 4 na yung boxes ng apples. That's basically it. Very, very fundamental yan. This question came from a Singapore math book for grade 3. Yung first question, Scott, go back to the first question.
This one.
Yung first question, this one is a question for grade 2. And ito nga yun eh, when my son and I do this, maraming guro, sabi nila, wow, bakit meron ng word problem kaagad? Kasi hindi nga tayo sanay sa Pilipinas na kung magturo tayo ng addition, subtraction, problem kaagad. So, ang nangyayari, kwento sa akin ng mga guro, is the first time many students see word problems, usually high school daw. Yung mga number problem, mixture, tapos takot na takot yung mga bata. Kung may word problem sa mathematics, hindi nila sinasagot. Pero yung sa Singapore, bata pa sila, may word problem na. So, embedded, nasa aklat nila, nasa lesson nila, na kung meron kang tool, kunwari addition, subtraction, hindi kailangan mo ihasa master addition and subtraction, but you also have to do a problem so you can see, kasi mathematics is problem solving talaga eh. Hindi lang siya yung computation lang eh. So yan yun. So itong question 1 is a grade 2 question. Itong question 2 is a grade 3 question. And as you can see, hindi pa ito fractions. Pero sa Singapore, parang hinahasa na nila yung mga bata, kahit na bata pa lang, 4 times as many apples. Talagang dinodrawing talaga nila anong ibig sabihin nun. Para maliit pa yung bata, naiintindihan na yung bata, anong ibig sabihin ng 4 times as many. And Father Ben is right. In Singapore, it's in English, but well, Singapore can also teach this in Chinese. They can teach it in Hindi.
Mother tongue.
In the mother tongue. So this one, as you can see, even ako, I mean, I'm very comfortable with English, but when I teach math, many times, Father Ben is right, I go into Tagalog. So I also lapse into Tagalog if I want to explain. Even Scott, we also go into Tagalog because somehow Tagalog is closer to our hearts than English. So, yung 4 times as many, so ganun din. So, teachers, 4 times as many apples as oranges. Pag turo ninyo dito, tanungin niyo sa bata, anong ibig sabihin ng 4 times as many? Magbigay kayo ng example. Anong mas marami? Orange ba or apple? Mabagal yan, mabagal yan. Okay, so, eventually they will get na mas marami yung apple, unahin yung orange, Tapos yung apple, 4 times as many, ayan, 4 boxes. Dito medyo mas mabilis tayo kasi teachers kayo eh. Alam namin, alam niyo to. Okay? Pero when you're going to teach this, go slow. Okay? So yung 4 times as many, it will take you at least 10 minutes to go into that. Okay? Scott, go on with the next sentence.
So next sentence, no? She has 2 more oranges than pears. So yung oranges natin, oranges would be this box. And she has 2 more oranges than pears. Ibig sabihin yung pears mas maliit. And yung pears, mag-drawing natin muna. Pears, something like this. And yung butaw would be 2. No? Kasi mas marami yung oranges kaysa sa pears by 2. And finally, she has 21 more apples than oranges. So kita na nga sa model na mas marami talaga yung apples kaysa sa oranges. And now we're saying that yung buong part na to is 21. So actually, makikita po natin sa model, there are 2 relationships between apples and oranges. No? So first one is yung apples 4 times as many kaysa sa oranges. Kaya didrawing po natin na yung oranges 1 box tapos yung apples 4 boxes. The second relationship is yung apples 21 more kaysa sa oranges. At dito po pumapasok yung bracket na to, showing that there are 21 more apples and oranges. No? So ito siguro multiplication relationship, 4 times. Tapos ito addition relationship, 21 more. No? How many pairs does Jen have? So finally, papasok natin yung unknown. How many pairs does Jen have? That would be over here. That's our goal, no? And so let's combine the information now that all of the given nakapasok na siya sa model, no? And in fact, we'll zoom in dito sa apples and oranges. Yung 21 na to, we can see, represents, yung haba ng tatlong boxes na to, 1, 2, and 3, is given to us. It's 21. And so we can say 21 is to 3 boxes. And to get 1 box, divide po by 3. So 21 divided by 3 comes out to 7. So we can say na each of these smaller boxes, yung haba po niya would be 7. And because yung boxes ni apples, yung 1, 2, 3, 4, tsaka yung box ni orange, kasing haba po silang lahat, yung haba ng box na to, 7 din, at 7 din dito. And we can check, no? Jen has 4 times as many apples as oranges. Tama. Because oranges, there are 7. And apples have 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7, which is 28, 4 times as many. We can also check she has 21 more apples than oranges. 28 minus 7 is 21. So lahat po ng relationships natin, tama, nandiyan naman sa model. But that's not what we want, no? What we want is yung pairs. How many are the pairs? And so tingnan naman po natin yung oranges at saka yung pears. We learned from the first step na yung oranges, yung haba niya is 7. We knew dun sa given na she has 2 more oranges than pears. Ibig sabihin, 7 minus 2 should give us pears. So 7 minus 2 equals 5 pairs. So now we can say this is 5. So that's the model process, no? Looking at the question, seeing ano yung given, ano yung information na nandyan na, and we use the model to bring together all the information, no? Para makita po natin silang lahat in one visual image. Dun sa sentences, hindi siya klaro na if we just read this question, hindi obvious na yung 21 more apples than oranges, how do we connect it to yung 4 times as many apples as oranges? Lumalabas lang po yan when we draw it, and we can see na talagang visually, yung 21, yung haba nito, is equivalent to yung tatlong maliliit na box.
The one I can add there, Scott, pwede rin para mas klaro pa. When you say that she has 21 more apples than oranges, you can, pwedeng diretso na rin dun sa apples, di ba? That yung tatlong box na yan, you can immediately bracket them on top. 21 ka agad. Pwede rin eh.
Yeah.
Yan na. Kitang-kita. So kitang-kita natin yung 21 pala, yan yung tatlong box. And intuitive siya. Nagawa ko to noon sa grade 2. Alam mo, kuha nila. Nakita nila 21 yung tatlong box. Diretso na isang box, 7. Tuwang-tuwa pa sila. Okay, so, you know, ano kasi yung mga bata, very visual eh. Maraming bata visual eh. Minsan na-intimidate lang sila kasi yung pagkaturo natin, gusto natin lagi write properly lahat ng mga equations. Pero natatakot sila doon. Pero yung Singapore math, you know, hindi ka, i-draw mo lang. Pag i-draw mo, makikita nila, makukuha nila yung sagot. Okay, so it's easier demonstrated when we do it with you. So Scott, is the next one going to be the teachers who do it now? Or,
Yes.
or too difficult pa? Hindi pa? Okay,
Pwede.
teachers. Ning Ning, we need now volunteers from teachers. A brave teacher. Scott will guide the brave teacher to do a model method of this one. Ning, you can call on. Last week, we had very many good volunteers. So Ning, I hope
Yes.
we will also have good dito.
Yeah.
Problem.
Okay. Teachers who would like to try the first one, don't be scared, don't worry kasi i-guide naman kayo ni Scott. Ano po ang gusto mag-try? Raise hand lang po kayo. Paki-raise na lang po ang hand. Anyone from Baknotan?
Yeah, Baknotan.
Kung nandyan si Romel Carpio, you can call on him.
O sige, Romel Carpio. Ay, wala po Romel Carpio. Romel Alejo nandito. Opo.
Romel, we don't need you to go straight to the answer. Don't. Kailangan lang natin kung ano ang i-draw natin. Step by step tayo. Okay? So hindi kami masyadong interesado sa final answer. Interesado kami doon sa process. Paano makuha yung final answer. So, Romel from Baknotan. Sige.
Wala po siya eh. Wala po siya, Doc.
Wala siya.
Someone else from Baknotan.
Si ano?
Ayman.
Si Ayman. Hello, Ayman. You were also, Ayman, you were also very active. Natandaan kita from last week. Father, I think it's okay, even if it's about Ayman is from Vegan City, Father, close enough to your hometown, Father. So, Ayman from Vegan. Go, Ayman.
Hello?
Hello, Ayman.
Ayman, go ahead. Parang nawala siya.
Natakot siya.
Opo.
Naka-unmute
Ay,
actually.
andyan na po siya. Opo.
Oo.
Ayman, say something. Naka-unmute ka na, okay na. Ayman? Ayman? Parang wala po yung tunog niya.
He's unmuted.
Maya, we already reached 37,000 at Facebook.
Wow, God. Okay. I think I saw a chat from one of our Suki, the one who always keeps on answering. Mary Ann.
Mary Ann.
Si Mary Ann, sagot ang sagot last week. So,
Okay, Mary
Ayman,
Ann.
while
Hello
we're
po.
waiting for you, Mary Ann, can you can lead us again?
Narinig mo. Hello po, narinig mo po ako.
Ayun.
Ayman, go ahead.
Ayun, okay na.
Hello po. Good morning po.
Hi, Ayman.
So, hello po.
So mag-drawing po tayo sa ano no?
Sige po, mag-drawing po tayo ng isang big bar
Okay.
which
Big
will
bar.
represent yan po nire-represent niya yung 3 webcams and one ring light na
So dito
cost
tayo, no? So
1,499 pesos po.
okay. So mag-drawing po tayo sa 3 webcams and 1 ring light, no? So mag-drawing po tayo ng box dito for 1 ring light, let's say like this. No? Tapos yung ano no, Ayman, the box on the right, yung space. Tatlo, no?
3
So
webcams,
tatlong
for 3 webcams. Division po, 3 boxes for 3 webcams.
For 3 webcams, no? So lahat na to webcam. Tapos yung ano no, how do we show na all in all 1,499?
Bali lahat ng lahat po ng boxes na yan that cost 1,499 po.
So magba-bracket po tayo, no?
Opo.
1,499.
Then
Okay.
yung dalawang boxes na sa una, yung ring light at webcam,
Yung ito.
another bracket po for 599.
Okay. So for clarity, we can just draw another one na same size na ganito. And then i-replicate po natin yung drawing natin. Ring light tsaka isang webcam. And you said yung bracket niya is
599 po.
599. Okay.
Then we subtract 1,499 to 599 po.
Okay. So paano natin yan ipapakita sa model?
Model, bale bracket din po.
Saan?
Draw po tayo ng dalawang same size po. Ng same size din po. Ng
Dito
bar.
na, ng bar. So
Opo.
pag drawing natin, ibig sabihin, ano no, if we drew this, ibig sabihin, nagdagdag po tayo ng webcam. Pero hindi naman yan yung ibig sabihin, no? So we mean to say na yung difference niya,
Opo. Yung cost ng yung difference po ng ng big box tsaka sa dalawang smaller box.
Exactly. So ano yung difference ng dalawa if we subtract?
Bale, 9
Magkano? Sorry?
ano po?
Magkano po yung difference niya?
900 po.
Sorry,
900
hindi ko lang narinig. 900. Yes. And what's the next step, Ayman?
Tapos yung dalawang boxes po, i-divide po natin yung 900.
Exactly, no? So we see na 900, yung haba niya is the length of 2 boxes. So 1 box is how much?
450 po.
450. Okay. And so how much does a webcam cost?
450 pesos po.
Bakit, Ayman? Tama, pero ano yung dahilan?
Very
Kasi po
good,
yung-
Ayman.
Thank you po. Kasi po yung dalawang boxes,
Mhm.
nagko-cost po siya ng 900. So i-divide po natin siya.
Mhm.
So 900 divided by 2, that is
Mhm.
450.
Exactly. Thank you, Ayman. That's exactly the answer.
Very good. Ning, I'm very impressed. Nakuha ni Ayman. Galing.
Galing.
And na-impress din ako kay Miss Reina. Kanina pa, sinabi na niya, 450 cost of each webcam. Scott, I think to make it even clearer, because you did the RL, mas madali na lang, Scott, di ba, yung sinasabi ni Ayman kanina, 3 webcams. No, Scott, just make it RL. Pero yung webcam, so that we can minimize the braces,
Sure,
just put
right.
webcam. Diba? WB. Para mas maano. So it's clearer.
Yeah.
Yeah, WC.
Yes.
Yan, para mas klaro. Diba? Ayman, galing. Very, very good. And Scott,
Thank you
there
po.
is, very good. Scott, there is a question on chat from Miss Clemencia, which is, Miss Clemencia, maganda yung tanong mo,
Yes.
and tama ka. Yung tanong ni Miss Clemencia Vergara, for everybody also on Facebook, this is a question from Zoom. Can we do po the other way around, na mauna pong I draw yung 1 ring light and 1 webcam? Miss Clemencia, yes, correct. Pwede siya. Okay. Yung ginawa lang kasi ni Scott is, sinusunod ni Scott si Ayman. So gusto kasi ni Ayman unahin yung 3 webcams and ring light. Pwede rin. Tama nga yun. Nakuha nga ni Ayman. Pero tama rin si Miss Clemencia. Pwede rin. So, so Miss Clemencia, do you want to come on cam? Kasi pwede rin. When you're practicing it there, nakuha mo rin ba, Miss Clemencia? Kasi tama rin. Pwede rin yung pwede mong unahin yung 1 webcam and 1 ring light. So, Miss Clemencia, would you want to comment? Kaya ba? Because that's a very good question. Actually, Miss Clemencia, kung ako rin, uunahin ko yung 1 webcam and 1 ring light eh. Si Ayman, medyo, ang tapang ni Ayman, diretso na siya dun sa mas mahirap. Pero kung ako yan, kay Miss Clemencia, uunahin ko rin yung
Okay lang.
1 webcam and
Okay lang.
So from Miss Clemencia says, Miss Clemencia is saying thank you, and she doesn't have a headphone. Pero for the benefit of yung mga kaibigan natin, our dear teachers, sabi nga ni Dindo, my God, 37,000 teachers now listening to us. So for the 37,000 teachers, there is a question, galing tanong kay Miss Clemencia, pwede ba nating unahin yung 1 webcam and 1 ring light? Yes. Yung sagot doon, yes. Pwede nating unahin yung nasa baba, and then the next one is yung 3 webcam. Pwede rin. So teachers, if you try it, you will get the same answer. So yan, ginagawa ni Scott. So yan, pwede rin ganon. Yan yung maganda sa Singapore math. Pwede siya. Okay? So you can do it that way also. So thank you, Miss Clemencia, and thank you for everyone. And Scott, let's go to the next. I think you will call another teacher, no? Yeah.
Yes. So I think yung importante dito sa question is to realize na yung 2 webcam na butaw is the same as yung difference ni 1,499 tsaka ni 599. So that's always the key na we connect yung mga values na alam natin, 900, to the values na gusto nating malaman. In this case, ano yung value ng isang box. And we'll see that in the next question. So question 4, no? The bookstore sells school supply packs, no? So yung first pack has 2 notebooks, 3 pens, and 1 eraser. It costs 31 pesos. The second pack has 1 notebook, 2 pens, and 1 eraser. It costs 25 pesos. At yung gusto nating malaman is how much is a pack of 2 notebooks and 2 pens. So mag-drawing po tayo ulit. Let's call someone to...
Can you call on another person? Hindi na muna si Ayman. We want another person to try this. So,
Teachers who would like to try. Kanina may isa you were supposed to see Ma'am
Marianne?
the one who commented kanina sa teka po, si Mary Ann. Ma'am Mary Ann, you wanna try? Teka.
hi, Ma'am Mary Ann. Welcome back. Do you want to try this one?
Ma'am Mary Ann, go ahead. Ma'am Mary Ann Fangon. Kindly unmute. Unmute na lang po, Ma'am Mary Ann.
Ayun.
Morning, ma'am.
Morning.
Hi. So nice to
Morning.
see that you're here again, Ma'am Mary Ann.
Back, ma'am.
So, mag-drawing po tayo, no, Mary Ann? Let's draw
Yes, sir.
muna yung pack number 1, no?
Yes, sir. Two packs of notebooks, 3 pens, and 1 eraser. Paano kayo?
So, i-drawing na natin. So, 2 notebooks, 3 pens, 1 eraser.
Yes, sir. Mag-drawing tayo ng 1, ilan na to? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ba yan? Ano ba to? 1, 2, 3. Bali, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 na boxes po, sir.
Okay. So, 6 na boxes. Pero magkasing laki ba sila? Do we know that is true?
I know, sir. Kasi yung eraser, 1 lang po. Yes, sir. Yung 2 notebooks, mas malaki yung 3 pens, sir.
Okay. So, sa ngayon alam natin na, let's say, let me put this up first. Let's say yung notebook will use color blue.
Yes, sir.
Tapos yung pens will use color green, no? So, paano yung 2 notebooks? Yan muna.
Ano kaya to?
How many boxes? Ma'am
Dalawa
Mary
po,
Ann?
ma'am.
Dalawa, no?
po, ma'am.
Good.
Yes, sir.
So, notebook.
Yes,
at
sir.
saka notebook. no?
Yes, sir. Then, 3 na pens na boxes po.
So, 1, tapos 2,
2,
tapos
3.
3.
Then, 1 box for the eraser.
Okay.
Green.
Tapos, all in all, magkano silang lahat?
31, sir.
31.
31.
So, mag-bracket po tayo. Okay.
Yes. Next, pack 2, sir.
Pack 2.
Pack 2, isang box for notebook. Kulayan natin ng blue ulit, sir.
Okay.
And then, 2 pens, red na kulay. 2 boxes. And then, 1 box for eraser, green na kulay po.
Okay.
And then, yung cost po ng notebook hanggang po doon sa, dito na po sa part 2, sir.
Dito.
Yeah. Hindi po. Notebook hanggang sa pen, sir. Cost 25 pesos.
Hanggang sa pens? Actually, yung eraser kasama din, no?
Isa pala. Hanggang sa erase.
Very good.
Lahat
25.
25, no?
Yes, sir.
So, ano yung butaw, Mary Ann, dito sa pack 1 tsaka sa pack 2? Ano yung pagkakaiba nila?
Ang butaw po, sir, ay yung notebook.
So, may isang notebook na nandyan sa alin? Sa pack 1 or sa pack 2?
Sa pack 2, sir. Pack 2.
So, sa pack 2, ano yung mas maraming notebook? Si pack 1 or si pack 2?
Pack 1, sir. Pack 1.
Pack 1, no? So, yung kulang, si pack 2.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, yon. Tapos, ano pa yung kulang ni pack 2?
Eraser, sir.
Eraser ba? Nandiyan naman yung isang eraser, no?
Ayaw nga, nandun pala. Sa pen, sir. Alam, sorry, sir. Nakakahilo.
Pero tama, no? Tama.
Eraser,
Yung pen, yung
sa eraser,
eraser ba?
sir. Ay, nasa pencil,
Isang
sir.
notebook, isang pen.
Yun, isang pen.
Ako, ma'am. Sir. Sa pens.
Tama, no?
Ako, babagsak atak ngayon, sir.
Hindi. So, sabi mo, Mary Ann, no, na yung pack 2, yung kulang niya, isang notebook tsaka isang
Yes, sir.
ballpen, no?
Yes, sir.
So, magkano siguro sila?
So, 6?
6, no? Bakit?
Yes, sir.
Very
6,
good.
sir. 6,
Bakit?
sir.
Ama, bakit? Bakit
6?
6?
Paano na kayo yun? 31 minus 25.
Very good.
6, sir.
Exactly, no? So, yung...
Honor student ka ulit. Ma'am
Tama,
Mary
sir?
Ann.
tama. So, yung
Tama.
yung sinabi ni Mary Ann,
May gift po ako kay ma'am. May gift ako kay Sir Scott.
Yung sabi ni Mary Ann is yung butaw ni Pack 2, yung kulang ni Pack 2 na nandyan sa Pack 1 pero wala sa Pack 2, isang notebook tsaka isang ballpen. No? Tapos yung difference ng cost ni Pack 1 tsaka ni Pack 2, 6 pesos. So ibig sabihin yung 6 pesos na yan yung cost ni notebook tsaka ni ballpen kasi yan yung kulang ni Pack 2. No? But what's the question?
Yes.
The question is 2 notebooks and 2 pens. Ano po yung 6? Yung 6 is?
6 times 2, sir.
6 times 2.
Wow.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Great.
6 times 2.
6 times 2
Wow.
equals
12, sir.
no? Bakit po natin ito times 2 yung 6, Mary Ann?
Kasi yung notebooks na dalawa po, sir.
Exactly, no? So,
Yes.
ano yung laman ng 6 para klaro? Ano yung school supplies na
6 each notebook, sir. 6 pesos for notebook.
for notebook?
Yes,
At
sir.
saka
6
may isa pa. Notebook plus?
plus 6 pen.
Plus?
Ay, plus
Pen.
Plus
6
1.
pen. Yes, sir.
Yon. So, sa model, no? Yung notebook, isa. Yung pen, isa. Yan yung butaw. Yung gastos niya, 6 pesos. So, kung kailangan natin ng 2 notebook tsaka 2 ballpen, ito times 2 nga natin yung 6 para 12 pesos yung sagot. No?
Yes, sir.
Salamat. Salamat, Mary Ann.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Pasensya na po.
No, thank you.
Nagkamali ako sa Pack 2.
Ma'am Mary Ann, lahat tayo nagkakamali.
Yes, ma'am. Nobody's
Yung
perfect.
maganda,
ma'am.
nobody is
tama.
perfect. And naintindihan mo, Ma'am Mary Ann, yan yung importante. Naintindihan mo yung model approach. And
Yes, ma'am.
sasabihin ko yung mga pangalan kasi ang galing nila. Nako, si Al Muhanad Duruin, kanina pa, nakuha na niya 12 pesos. Si from Bagabag, Armeli Ramat, 2 notebooks, 2 pens, 12 po. Galing. From Vegan, Marilu Aninag, 12 pesos. M. Marcon Manyas, 12 pesos. Raymart Emerson Obungen, yes, Raymart, 1 notebook plus 1 pen is 6 pesos. And 2 notebooks, 2 pens, 12 pesos. Daniel Su Galapon, 6 pesos the cost of 1 notebook and 1 pen. 12 pesos the cost of 2 notebooks and 2 pens. Congratulations, everyone. All of you got it. Yay! This is actually a grade 4 question. Galing, galing. Very good, teachers.
So, medyo mahirap yung tanong na to because yung instinct po natin is we want to know magkano ba yung 1 notebook, magkano yung 1 pen, magkano yung 1 eraser. But we won't know, no? Dito sa tanong na to. Yung 6 pesos na to, as everyone has said, is the cost of 1 notebook at saka 1 pen. Hindi natin alam kung 5 pesos plus 1 peso ba yan, kung 4 pesos plus 2 pesos, paano ba yung hati ng 6 pesos na yan sa notebook tsaka sa pen. Hindi po natin malalaman sa tanong. But what we know is we don't need to know that. Kasi yung tanong lang naman is how much is a pack of 2 notebooks and 2 pens, at yan masasagot po natin with the information we have.
I also know, diba, Ning, you also told me that several high school teachers are with us today. Diba, Ning?
Yes. Yes po, Doc Quina. Yeah. We have, we also invited them, ma'am, kasi of their students they have students who are undergoing remedial. So, tamang ito yung lower level math.
For my advice to the high school teachers, okay, when you see a question like this in high school, lalo na kung algebra teachers kayo, yung instinct natin, let X be, XYZ tayo magsi-systems of equations tayo dito. Okay? Let X be price of a notebook, Y be price of a pen, Z be price of an eraser. Magsi-system of equations tayo, tapos mag-elimination tayo or substitution. Di ba yung algebra na lagi natin ginagawa in first year high school? So high school teachers, of course, the students have to learn that. They have to learn how to deal with systems of equations. Pero even in my experience, even in our remedial classes in college, nahihirapan sila. So we have no choice. So high school teachers, to remove the fear, you can teach them Singapore math first. Ito. Okay, before you go into algebra, ito muna. Kasi, look at the answers of the teachers. Kuha ninyo kaagad. Hindi tayo nag-XYZ. Kuha na ninyo kaagad. Mahirap itong tanong. So kung mag-XYZ kayo dito, baka matataranta yung mga bata kaagad. So introduce this first. Introduce examples of this, and then you can ask them to redo this in systems of equations para hindi sila matakot. Okay, so that's the advice I'm going to give you. So this is more basic. Okay, look at ang galing ni Teacher Mary Ann, saka lahat ng mga teachers na nasa chat, kuha ka agad. Hindi ba? Hindi naman sila nag-XYZ, kuha na. So for our high school teachers listening in, this one can also be taught to high school students. Okay, so this is not just limited to grade school students. This can also be taught to high school students before you go into, because this is actually an algebra question. Ayaw ko lang sabihin kasi baka matakot na tayo kung sinabi ko bigla algebra, di ba? Pero algebra question to eh. Di ba? So, pwede ninyong unahin to and then you can go into XYZ later on. Okay, so very good, Miss Mary Ann, and very good everybody who's doing the chat. Di ba? And,
Dok Wida, marami rin pong nagbigay ng correct answers sa Facebook. Hindi lang natin ma-capture kasi we're reaching 41,000.
oh my God. Father, I'm about to faint. It's 41,000. Okay. Dindo, galing. For those on Facebook, please continue. Dindo, monitor na lang. Monitor mo. Kasi gusto ko rin malaman if they're following, di ba? Yung natutuwa ako is nandito sa Zoom, alam natin, nakukuha nila. So gusto ko rin sana na yung Facebook. Natutuwa ako kasi nagsusolve din.
Kasi nung galaw sa comments, hindi namin ma-capture.
Pero meron po tayong tatlong staff sa Facebook po. Andiyan po si Editor, si Adrian, at si Jessica.
Yeah.
They'll try to capture yung questions po, or if there are any concerns or anything po, ika-capture po nila and they'll let us know po.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Scott, go on to the next question.
Good. Actually, mahirap to, no? I'm surprised na ang bilis natin, but that's good. Kasi doon lumalabas yung power of model approach.
Yeah.
Okay, question 5.
Fractions na. Fractions. Deep breath, everybody. We have fractions. Okay.
Mag-volunteer po tayo. I'll read the question first while you raise your hand. Question 5. There are 20 cows on a farm. The number of chickens on the farm is 6/5 the number of cows. How many chickens are on the farm? How many cows and chickens all in all?
Scott, you may want to model this first because this is a first problem with fractions. And it's 6/5. It's a bit, it's not very easy. Okay.
I'll do this first, no? So cows and chickens. So anong information na binigay sa atin, no? So first is there are 20 cows on the farm. So magdodrawing po tayo ng bar for cows. And we'll say that this is 20. So okay na to, no? Then we see that the number of chickens on the farm is 6/5 the number of cows. Anong ibig sabihin ng 6/5? So 6/5 means na yung cows na to, we can divide the bar into 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And yung number of chickens, dapat 6 times isang maliit na box na 1/5. 1, 2.
I will interrupt teachers again. 6/5. Huwag kayong matakot sa 6/5. Ang ibig sabihin ng 6/5, 6 na 1/5. Okay, teachers? So that's it. Tell the students. Ang ibig sabihin ng 6/5 is 6 times 1/5. and you literally have to draw the boxes. Okay, so 6 times 1/5. So kung yung each box ng cow, 1/5, 1/5, 1/5, 1/5, 1/5, then yung chicken, 6/5, then 6 na boxes na 1/5. So yan lang. Teachers, intuitive din yung pagka-fractions nito, yung pagka-draw nito. Again, 6/5 means 6 siya na 1/5. Okay. Scott, go on.
So then, yung tanong natin, how many chickens are on the farm? So looking at the model, we see na yung 20 represents 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 na maliit na box. So 20 represents 5 boxes. And yung chickens, alam din natin na it's represented by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes. So how do we get to know how many chickens there are? So first, from 20, alam natin na 20 is 5 boxes. Then 1 box is just dividing by 5, dividing by 5, 4 animals in 1 box. And because yung chickens, 6 boxes siya, we can multiply it by 6 to know na 4 times 6 equals 24. So there are 24 chickens. Then the next question is, how many cows and chickens are there in total na? And there are actually 2 ways na masasagot natin to. So method 1. Method 1, alam na natin na yung cows, 20 cows, at yung chickens, 24 chickens. So 20 plus 24 is 44 animals. But what's the other way? Nakikita po natin na yung cows is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At kung idadagdag natin yung chickens is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 boxes. All in all. No? So all in all, 11 boxes yung halaga ni cows and chickens together. At alam din natin na 1 box is worth 4. So 11 boxes is worth 44. So 11 times 4 equals 44 animals. So lumalabas ulit yung yung multiplication is repeated addition from the model approach of this question.
Very good. Scott, the teachers are enthusiastically answering what you were explaining, and they're all perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent, teachers. Galing. I have big faith in you. We will go into more complex questions. And Scott, I think kaya na ng teachers.
Kaya
They're
na.
really-
Oo.
Kaya na.
Oo. So yung 6/5, yung importante na ginawa natin is dinivide natin yung barney cows into 5, and then yung chickens, nag-drawing tayo ng 6. And we'll see this with fractions. Mas madali kung i-demonstrate lang natin. So fractions and percent. Okay, magtawag na po tayo.
Teachers, come on.
So I'll read it while we raise our hands. Kailangan na po natin ng volunteer. Jerick sold 5/8 of his Pokemon cards to his brother, then sold 1/3 of the remainder to his friend. He had 14 cards left. How many cards did he sell to his brother?
Okay.
Volunteer.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Yes,
teacher.
Darius.
Ayan.
Yes.
Darius.
Hi, Darius.
Hello po.
Hi, morning. So Darius, let's start with yung let's start with 5/8.
Yes po.
Pag-drawing po muna tayo ng malaking bar.
Then we will divide it by 8.
Okay.
Partition.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ayun. So ano yung label, no? Ano yung ibig sabihin ng malaking bar?
That is 8 out of 8 po.
8 out
Or
of
1
8.
whole.
1 whole. Okay. So, yung sold 5/8 of his cards to his brother. Paano po yan?
So we will count 5 boxes.
Okay. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes po.
At yung 5 boxes na to, anong nangyari?
So that is the 5 out of 8.
Okay.
Yan po
So, ito
yung
siya, no?
Pokemon card.
To his
Brother.
no? Okay. Then the next is 1/3 of the remainder. So, paano siya?
So we have 3 left boxes.
Mm-hmm.
So yung 1/3 po nun is, of course, 1.
Mm-hmm. So, ano?
That would be to his friend.
Exactly. Yung tatlong box na to is indeed, as you said, no, the remainder. So 1/3 ng tatlong box is this 1 box, which is sold to his friend. Okay. Tapos, he had 14 cards left. Paano yan?
So we have 2 boxes left,
Mm-hmm.
which will represent 14 cards.
Okay. 14 cards left.
Okay.
Okay. So, lahat ng information, no, nakapasok na, no? What do we do now? What do we want to do?
So of course, yung dalawang boxes po na natitira, since
Mm-hmm.
that is 14,
Mm-hmm.
so we will find first kung anong value ng isang box.
Exactly, no? So,
Very
14
good.
is 2 boxes.
Very good.
And we want to find value of 1 box, which is
7 po.
7, no? And then yung tanong, how many cards did he sell to his brother? Paano yan?
Okay, so since we have counted 5 boxes before,
Mm-hmm.
and each boxes represent 7 cards,
Mhm.
so we are just going to multiply, sir.
Yun. So, 5 boxes will be
Multiplied by 7,
multiplied by 7. So, 7 times 5. So, yung sagot,
35 po.
35. Salamat. 35
Excellent.
cards to his brother.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you po.
Salamat, Darius. So, ano, no? Very, very interesting yung paghati natin. We started off with 1 whole na we divided it into 8 para masakop natin yung 5/8 as a fraction. The easiest way to do 5/8 to represent it is hahatiin po natin muna into 8 and then magbibilang ng 5. And that's exactly what Darius did. No? Then we recognize na yung remainder na to is represented by these 3 boxes. And so 1/3 of the remainder, syempre, is 1 box. Yan yung napunta sa friend. And yung natira na 2 box is exactly 14 cards left. And then yung mahalagang sinabi ni Darius, no, is we want to find out the value of 1 box, which is correct. So we want to say na yung 14 cards left, 2 box yan. So isang box would be worth 7. And then yung cards na binenta niya sa kapatid niya is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those boxes, which brings us to 7 times 5 equals 35.
Galing. Darius, that's excellent. Every single step is correct. And wow, Ning, mga ano to, honor students, lahat grabe. Lahat ng tama lang lahat ng sagot ninyo. Ning, this is
Pati
very
sa
good.
Facebook. Yes pa, Doc Queen, na even in Facebook po, ang galing nilang sumagot. Ang dami nilang sumasagot.
Uy, galing, galing, galing. Fractions to. And hindi to madali. Grade 5 na tayo. Galing, galing. Very good, very good. Scott,
Ano,
go
no?
on. We can
Yeah.
challenge them. Yeah, galing, galing. I'm so happy. Yeah.
I'll note na with model approach, it can help teach with multiplications of fractions. No? So yung 1/3 of the remainder, ano yung remainder na? So in traditional math, how would we solve this question? You would say 1 minus 5/8 equals 3/8, which is the remainder. Tapos 3/8 times 1/3, cancel equals 1/8. And this is yung napunta sa friend. And lahat niyan, we actually did visually using the model. Kasi nakita natin na yung 1/3 of the remainder is yung 1 box na to, which indeed is 1/8 of the total. So 1/3 nung 3/8 is 1/8. Ito nga visually 1 box. Let me go.
Teachers, of course, your students have to know that 1 minus 5/8 equals 3/8. They have to know that. Okay? And they also have to know that 3/8 times 1/3 is 1/8. They have to know that. Pero minsan kasi, yan nga, di ba? Sabi nga ninyo, alam natin, natatakot yung mga bata. Pero dito, kung i-draw ninyo, ang bilis, nakikita nila. Hindi na sila matatakot. So, Singapore Math is a supplement and a way to do problem solving. Of course, it does not mean that you do away with arithmetic altogether. Hindi naman. Pero this is a way to do it. Kaya nga, teachers, ang bilis ninyong sumagot. Grabe. Diba? So, do this to your students. And when they grow older, you can now go into the traditional math. You can actually teach it together. Anong ibig sabihin ng 1 minus 5/8? I-draw na ninyo. Ayan na, makikita na nila. Yun. Okay, so very good. Very good, teachers. This is very good. Scott, go on. I think it gets
question.
more complex.
Yes.
Ayan. Aha.
Okay, so question 7. Feli gave 2/7 of her marbles to her sister, then gave 3/10 of the remainder to her classmate, and she had 70 marbles left. How many marbles did she have at first? Magtawag po tayo ulit.
Volunteers?
Okay, who would like to try? Sino po ang may gusto ngayon this time? Kanina, ayan, si Sir Darius ulit. Sir Darius, sorry, hintay po tayo ng iba. Try yung iba. Galing si Sir Darius eh. Let's try the others. Sino pa po? Kanina, ayan, si Ayman na naman.
Si Nora?
Ma'am Nora.
Nora.
Yan, Ma'am Nora, Kaligtan. Go ahead po. Ma'am Nora.
Good morning po, ma'am.
Morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
So sir, magdodrawing po tayo ng 7 boxes.
Okay, so 7 boxes. Okay.
And yung dalawa po doon represents the 2/7 of her marbles to her sister.
Okay, so marbles to her sister. Okay.
And then po, yung 3/10 of the remainder to her classmate. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 po yung remainder boxes dyan. Hatiin po natin ng tigda-dalawa para maging 10 po sila.
Good, exactly.
Very good. Very good. Yan yung mahirap dyan. Very good. Ma'am Nora, Ma'am Nora, sorry, tuwan-tuwa ako dito. I need to ask you, kasi ito yung mahirap eh. Paano mo alam na kailangan mong hatiin yung box?
Ma'am, kasi I use bar model approach na doon sa pagtuturo po sa school. And then natutunan ko rin po ito. Yung sa naunang nag-introduce sa akin ng Singapore Math is Ma'am Uyak. And then nag-research po ako nag-research ng about Singapore mathematics. And then doon po sa MTG, kung alam niyo yung MTG po, ayun doon po, naano po ako doon.
Very good, Ma'am Nora. That's correct. Pero Ma'am Nora, can you explain, kasi sa mga nanonood, kasi hindi siya obvious eh. Yung kanina, Scott, can you go back to the other question? Yung kanina, madali eh. 1/3. Diba? 3 yung kahon. Tapos isa, 1 out of 3. Pero ito, hindi siya ganun kadali. So Scott, you go back to the question here. Kailangan nating mapaliwanag sa mga nanonood kasi 5 lang yung boxes. So, bakit bakit mo ginawa, tama naman eh, bakit mo hinati siya? Why do
Pero
you,
magiging LCD po niya, ma'am.
okay, that's correct. What if, suppose Ma'am Nora, ayaw nating sabihin yung LCD kasi natatakot ang mga bata doon. Kunwari, grade 3 ang hawak natin. Ano yung sasabihin natin kung hindi LCD?
Ang ano ba? Nang mas madali. Yun lang.
Oo.
Grade ko kasi ang tinuturo ko parang grade 10. Paano ko ba sasabihin ng mas madali yun?
Kasi, yan yun eh. Kasi,
Apo.
I think there's somebody raising their hand, Ma'am Ning. I saw some, Miss Reina. Miss Reina, you're
Sa
raising
Reina
your hand.
Mercedes po, it was May Estelita.
And then yun po yung denominator niya kasi 10. So 5 para maging 10. So i-divide mo o ihatiin mo siya ng dalawa para maging 10 po yung ano niya,
Exactly.
yung denominator
Very
niya.
good.
Yes.
Very good. That is the reason. That's the reason. Hindi pwede 5 lang yung boxes kasi yung denominator niya 10. So yung plano sa Singapore math will be, kung 5 yung boxes, paano mo siyang gawing 10? Yan yung pagka-explain ng mga bata. So for the people watching us here, your students will ask you, how do you know you're going to do it? Sabihin mo, well, look at the question. You only have 5 boxes. So think of a way. How do you make the 5 boxes into 10? Mga guro tayo, kaya mabilis tayo eh. Pero yung mga bata na nag-uumpisa nito sa fractions, nahihirapan sila. So, 5 ang boxes. Kailangan 3/10.
Maging 10.
So, Ma'am Nora, that's correct. And explanation. Very good. Very, very good. Ma'am Nora, go on. Go on. You're about to be.
And then, yung 3/10 po na boxes, yun po yung para sa classmates.
Okay.
7 boxes will represent the 70 marbles left.
Okay, 70 marbles left. Okay.
70. So 70 divided by 7.
So yung sakop ni 70 is how many boxes?
7 po.
7, okay.
Okay, so 10 marbles for each box.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14 times 10, that is 140.
Exactly, no? Salamat, Ma'am Nora.
Thank you din po,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you. So ano, no? We started out with 7 boxes lang. Kasi yung first fraction na nakita natin is 2 sevens, right? So naturally, yung 2 sevens, ihati muna sa 7, tapos mag-shade tayo ng 2, ito yung naka-blue dito, no? And the complication is yung 3/10 of the remainder. Mahihirapan po tayo na magta-3/10 kasi 5 lang na box kanina yung natira dito, no? So the question is how to represent 3/10
140.
of 5
How to
boxes.
3
And yung sagot is we divide each box by 2. At yan po yung ginawa natin with Ma'am Nora para makakadrawing po tayo ng 3/10 of the remainder with these 3 smaller boxes. Actually, anong nangyari dito sa 2 sevens na pagkatapos ng paghati natin sa 2? Our 2 sevens now becomes 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 14. Nung kanina ay 2 sevens. So actually, equivalent lang naman yung fractions na to. At dito lumalabas na visually, anong ibig sabihin ng 2 sevens is equivalent to 4 out of 14. And then the important step, no, is yung she had 70 marbles left. At yung sakop ni 70 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the smaller boxes. Tapos sabi nga natin, we want to get the value of 1 box. So divide by 7, magiging 10 is the value of 1 box. At yung kabuuan natin is 14 boxes, which is 140 marbles.
Ma'am Nora, you are correct. You said you're handling grade 10. This is actually a grade 4 question. But Ma'am Nora, you're correct. For grade 10, you can talk to them about least common denominator, LCD. You can talk, definitely by grade 10, dapat equivalent fractions, alam na nila. So this is one visual way. So if you just do this problem for grade 10 or even lower, they can actually see that the 2/7, which is the original, is actually the same as 4/14. Those are equivalent fractions. They can also see that parang yung 3/10, the reason why hindi kaya siya ng 5 boxes is because 3/10 is already the basic fraction. Okay, so you cannot do it anymore. So basically for 5 boxes, you have to make it into 10. So you can introduce the traditional fraction ideas just by, that's the power, I think, of Singapore math. Sometimes when I look at a question, so many things leap out at me. I think Father Ben was telling us before that sometimes, when we do problem solving, even the Japanese, parang they have one problem and there's so many ideas that are actually inside and encompassed in the problem. So parang yan yon. So teachers, one thing you can do is when your students are older and parang kaya na nila and they want, you want to push them, you can actually give good problems and then let them try to answer it and give them hints. Okay, so Father, can you tell them a little bit about what we were trying to do in our college problem-solving approach, wherein we give them a problem, and then you told us before it was very similar to what the Singaporeans, the Japanese were doing, wherein you give them a problem and then the students will do the solution, but the problem is very, very rich. So the important thing there is choosing the right problem and then starting with the problem first and deriving the ideas from the problem rather than giving them the answer kaagad, Father. I think you told us something like this because I think this is what's happening now, that we look at a problem that looks actually very simple and can be solved, but it can actually lead to very, I think what Liping Ma is calling the profound understanding of mathematics. So Father, maybe a little bit of because some of our teachers here could be advanced and some of them are teaching the students who are more advanced, and maybe we would really want to do problem solving with them. So Father, maybe you can share a little bit of what you and I are trying to do in college for the students who are more advanced, Father.
Well, you really have to do quite a lot of problem solving. And then after some experience in problem solving, then you can begin to sit down with your students and reflect and look at, you can begin to look at the different ways of looking at the same problem. No? But you cannot do that from the beginning. They have to have the experience of having done the problems. It's like what I said to you, doing good problems is like climbing a mountain, and you can take different routes to get there. I suggest that that's something you do later. No, you first do problems and then you begin to look at it from the. Actually, what will happen sometimes in a class is that students will solve the problems in different ways. That's one of the nicest things. Some students with a good problem, you'll find out that you may get 2 or 3 or 4 different solutions from students, and then you can begin to show precisely that there are different ways of looking at the problem, different ways of approaching it, just like there are different routes to get to the top of a mountain. But I don't know how it was to say. I think this it's like anything in life. You begin to see it in different ways after experience. You begin to see that reality has many different ways, many dimensions. But you can only see that after you have looked at it. So my answer to Dr. Quina is, I think just do a lot of problems, and then after a while you begin to point out to students that you could have done it different ways, and that one single problem can actually teach you many things.
Father Ben, thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
right. We start with the problems. We ensure that the students are not scared of problems. We show them things, give them problem after problem after problem after problem, like what we're doing now. And then as they grow older and they grow more experienced with problem solving, we can now talk about the different ways of doing it also.
Yeah.
Thanks, Father.
Thank you.
Scott, go on.
Okay. Okay.
And congratulations again, teachers. You're still doing very well. Your answers are correct. Yeah.
Let's do question number 8 na. Let me see. Yes, matatawag po natin mga volunteers for this question. Let me read it first, no? Teacher Alma gave out candies to her best students. She gave 8 to Princess, 1/3 of the remainder to Reina, and 6 to Hermel. After class, Teacher Alma was left with the same number of candies that she gave to Reina. How many candies did Teacher Alma have at the start? Subukan po natin.
Volunteers?
Any volunteer? Sino po yung kanina? Tatlo ang nag-raise ng hand. Sino pa po ba yung isa kanina? Can we try? Yung taga Reyna Mercedes po. Si Ma'am. Kanina po nag-raise kayo ng hand. Ma'am May Estelita. May Estelita. Unmute na lang po, ma'am. Yung iba po, kung hindi po siya makapag-unmute. Anybody? Mga taga Nueva Vizcaya.
Ning, I think they're solving na eh. Before you solve, the process first. I think tuwang-tuwa kayo, gusto niyo sagutin na. Can we do the si Darius ulit ako, pero si Darius already recited. Can we have another person?
Yeah, can we have another one, please?
Sige na, para we can go to exciting questions. So
Yeah,
hindi na
come
pwede
on.
si Darius, hindi na rin si Mary Ann, hindi na rin si Ma'am Nancy. So others, please.
Ayan, ay, si Sir Darius pa rin. Somebody else po. Let's try someone from the Nueva Vizcaya or Pangasinan. San Nicolas at San Manuel. Sige, guide naman kayo ni Scott. Huwag kayo matakot. Tatawag po ako, ha? Sa San Manuel, si Jennifer. Jennifer ng San Manuel.
Jennifer, can you try?
Ning, there are also people from Mindanao.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Visayas. So perhaps you should call on them. Do not concentrate on Northern Luzon. Medyo
Sige.
favorite mo yung Northern Luzon.
Ma'am, wala kasing nakasulat dito sino ang taga-UP or sa hindi ko po alam kung sino sa kanila. Sir Dindo
So
ba?
probably si Dindo and Annie can
Oo.
identify.
Sir Dindo and Miss Annie. Sir Dindo?
Aning, i-check mo lang.
Hindi nila kasi na-rename, sayang, para alam sana natin.
Come on, teacher, so that we can have more time for more questions. Diba? There is no shame if we make a mistake. I make mistakes all the time. So what is important is you try.
Ma'am Clemencia, ay wala nga pala siyang she doesn't have a headset po, si Ma'am Clemencia.
Si Ma'am Clemencia already has the answer. I'm not even sure if that's the answer, but I like it, Ma'am Clemencia. But any other person, kasi we are not very much interested in the final answer. We are more interested in the process of getting the answer. So Ma'am Clemencia already has the answer, but she does not have a headset. And si Ma'am Leonora, can you try? So Ma'am Leonora,
can you unmute po? Ayan, nasagot
Ma'am
niyo na po. So
Leonora.
maybe you can go through the process with Scott po.
Yeah.
Po, Ma'am Leonora. Unmute po, Ma'am Leonora. Gakayan from Solano. Ma'am Leonora Gakayan from Solano. Ayan na po siya.
Ayan.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So paano
Okay.
po yung pag-drawing natin? No?
So, nag-draw po ako ng 8 boxes for princess.
Okay. So
And
8,
then,
8 boxes or...
ay sige, pwede po yung 1 box tapos divide by 8.
Okay.
And then,
princess, sure.
1/3 po, 6 po yung kay Hermel.
Okay. So saan po yan?
Dito po sa gitna po is yung 1/3. Later po yung 1/3 ko. And then yung 6 po kay Hermel.
Okay.
And then yung 6 po is 2/3.
So ano no? Let's start actually with the whole box para mas madali yung pag-drawing natin. No?
Okay, sige
Let's just
po.
start with the whole box na lahat ng candy ni Teacher Alma, no?
Okay po.
So, yung kay Princess,
8 po.
8, no? So, let's just draw ganyan para mas madali. Para kay Princess, 8, no? Okay.
And then, yung kay Hermel po is 6.
Okay. So,
And
yung
then,
kay Hermel
yung kay
is
Reyna
6.
po is 1/3. Kung kay Reyna is 1/3 at saka kay Hermel is 6, bali, yun po yung natira.
Exactly, no?
2/3 po yung kay Hermel and then 1/3 din kay Reyna.
So, paano po natin i-drawing yung paghati nun dito sa model?
Okay po, so kung 8 yun,
So, unahin po natin yung kay Reyna actually para ma-drawing natin yung 1/3 of the remainder.
okay po, it's 1/3 of the remainder, yung natira po. Magiging...
So, saan po yung remainder dito sa model? No?
Pwede rin po dito sa medyo half po ng, 1/3 lang po dito sa natira. So 1/3, bali 2/3 po yon. Bali parang ginawa ko pong 1 whole pa rin yung natira.
Yes, no? So actually, yung sinabi mo is first we have yung 8 kay Princess, no? So tapos na yan.
Okay po.
So yung susunod is 1/3 of the remainder pagkatapos nating bigyan ng 8 si Princess, no? So yung remainder na yan muna. Saan yung label ng remainder? Dito ba? Nandito ba? Saan siya?
Pwede rin po sa gitna, yun po yung 1/3. And then dito po sa kabila is yung 6 kay Hermel.
Okay. So yung buong remainder actually is yung
3/3.
Exactly. No? Yung buong box na yan, hahatiin po natin into 3.
Into 3 equal parts. Okay. And then kay Hermel po is 6. And that is 2/3.
So yung 1/3 of the remainder kay Reyna nandito, tapos
Okay
yung
po.
kay Hermel nandito. Yon.
And then, kung kay Hermel is 2/3 ng 6, o magiging 6 yun, bali pag 2/3, 3 yung isang box, and then another 3 yung isang box. So kay Reyna is 3, and then plus 8. Tapos, yung natira po na candies ay the same with Reyna, which is 3. So yung tinotal ko po yon is equal to 20 candies.
So yung 6 kay Hermel, no? Hindi siya pwedeng maging yung buong 2/3 na to. Kasi nga may natira pang candies kay Teacher Alma. 'Di ba? So kung yung buong candies is represented by this box, si Hermel dapat mas maliit yung part niya.
Yes, sir.
Diba? So, di ba? So first is, nagbigay tayo ng 8 kay Princess. So, nandito na yan. Na?
Yes, sir.
Tapos, naghati po tayo ng 3. So, 1/3 of the remainder kay Reyna. Tapos, yung 6 kay Hermel, medyo hindi pa po natin alam sa una-una kung saan po siya ilalagay. But we know that at the end, Teacher Alma is left with the same number of candies na binigay kay Reyna, na saan po natin ilalagay yung same number of candies she gave to Reyna.
Doon, pwede rin po sa tapat ni Reyna.
Oo, no? So,
Lagyan din siya.
pwede dito, no? Pwede rin dito.
Yes, sir.
Pareho
Pwede
naman
rin.
sila.
Okay.
So, ito ay left with Teacher Alma. At ngayon lang po natin malalaman na nasaan na yung kay Hermel.
6 din po yung kay, 6 po yung kay Hermel.
6, no? At yung natirang box nandito lang sa gitna kay Hermel. 6.
So 8 plus.
So, yung sinabi mo kanina, no? Is ilang box si 6? Ano yung halaga ng isang box?
So kung 6 yun, 6 yung natira, sir, ay 6 kay Hermel. So 6, 6, 6.
Exactly, no? So 6 is ilang box? So nakita na po natin na yung isang maliit na ganito, ano yung halaga niya? Nasabi mo na, 1 box is?
6 times 3 po is 18.
Oo. So kung 1 box is 6, yung kabuuan nito na 3 boxes is?
18.
18, no? Tapos anong gagawin natin to 18?
18 plus 8.
Exactly.
Is equal to
18 plus
26.
8 is 26.
Very good, Teacher Leonora. Mahirap to.
Yeah.
Tumadali. Teacher Leonora, very good. Very, very good. Yung mahirap dito is, yung kay Hermel, hindi natin alam muna ano yung box. Okay, so yung talagang mahirap dito would be, alam natin, binigyan natin si Hermel ng 6 candies. Pero hindi natin alam yan eh. So parang nasa utak pa natin yan. Ang alam lang natin is after class, Teacher Alma was left with the same number of candies she gave to Reyna. So, kaya tama yung ginawa niyo, Teacher Leonora, tama. Yung kay Reyna, saka yung naiwan kay Teacher Alma, pareho yan. Pero yung kay Reyna, 1/3. So, since pareho din yung kay Teacher Alma, 1/3 din siya. So, kung 1/3 kay Reyna, 1/3 kay Teacher Alma, then yung natitirang butaw na 1/3, yan yung kay Hermel. So, tama kayo, Teacher Leonora. Mahirap to. Mahirap to. Kasi maraming tao yung sagot nila 24 o 20, 21. Pero no, the answer is 26, as you have seen. So very good, Teacher Leonora. Congratulations. This is probably the most complex problem.
So far.
Yeah, this is the hardest problem so far. And I'm happy that you were able to see it and you were able to get it. So yung key dito is yung 1 box is actually 6, hindi siya 3. So maraming beses gusto natin yung kay Hermel, gagawin na natin divided by 2, pero hindi eh. Kasi kung i-divide by 2, ibig sabihin wala nang candy na titira kay Teacher Alma. Pero meron pa siya eh. She was left with the same number of candies she gave to Reyna. Okay, so the key here is Reyna has 1/3, Teacher Alma has 1/3, Hermel has 6. So the 6 has to be 1/3 also. And the 1/3 is 1 box. So 6 is 1 box, 18 is 3 boxes, and 18 plus 8 is 26. Teachers, hindi ito madali. You know, you actually have to look at it a bit and understand it. Ano talaga, saan ba nabumunta? And minsan, yung 6 to Hermel, gusto natin ilagay kaagad. Ang problema dito, hindi natin pwede ilagay kaagad kasi hindi natin alam kung gaano kalaki yung box ni Hermel. Hindi natin talaga alam eh. Okay, so parang nandyan lang, nasa ano lang siya, nasa tabi lang. Malalagay lang natin yung kay Hermel kung gamitin natin yung sentence after. Teacher Alma is left with the same number of candies. Back to
May
you, Scott.
mga nalilito pa po. So I can also just re-explain it, no? Kasi mahirap talaga yung question na to. Let me go through it again, no? So itabi mo natin yung nagawa natin ni Teacher Leonora. Itabi po natin. So for those na nalito, uulitin lang ko lang po. So first is we draw a large box na yung tawag dito ay all the candies of Teacher Alma. So bumili po siya ng candy, ito yung yung pangkalahatan nila. First, we know na she gave 8 to Princess. So yeah, maghahati po tayo ng 8 para kay Princess. Sa susunod, nagbigay siya ng 1/3 of the remainder to Reina. So saan po yung remainder pagkatapos ng pagbigay kay Princess? Ito po yung remainder. Ito. So yung 1/3 niya, maghahati po tayo sa 3. At yung 1/3 niya, pumunta kay Reina. Nagbigay din po siya ng 6 to Hermel. Pero hindi pa po natin alam kung ano ba yung 6. Ito ba yung 6? Ito ba yung 6? Ito ba yung 6? Hindi pa po natin alam. So itatabi po muna natin yung information na yan. At magtutuloy po tayo sa susunod na sentence na Teacher Alma after class was left with the same number of candies she gave to Reina. So kung si Reina, yung binigay natin is 1 box, sigurado po tayo na yung natira kay Teacher Alma, 1 box din. Ito, left to Teacher Alma. At ngayon pa lang po natin mapapasok yung information na 6 to Hermel. Siyempre, nandito na siya sa natirang bar na hindi pa natin naibibilang. Hermel, 6. So alam na natin na kung yung 6 ay 1 box, yung 3 box na to, yung kabuuan nito, 3 box, 18, no?
Yeah.
So 18, ganyan. Tapos sa huli, yung 18 na to, plus yung 8 na nandito, magdadagdag lang po tayo, 18 plus 8 equals 26 candies at the start. So talagang yung importante is yung 6 to Hermel na nandito, itatabi po muna natin habang hindi po natin alam kung paano siya papasok sa model. At minsan ganun talaga sa question, kailangan po muna natin tapusin yung lahat ng information tapos balikan yung medyo malabo. And we'll see this again in question 9. So question 9, ganun din. Okay. Sana pagkatapos ng question 9, klarong-klaro na po tayo dito. So let's do this. Ben gave 50 pesos of his weekly salary to his sister and spent 2/5 of the remaining money on transport. He spent another 220 pesos on food. At the end of the week, Ben was left with 1/2 the amount of money that he spent on transport. How much is Ben's weekly salary? So wag po muna natin isolve, no? Sabay-sabay po tayo para klaro. Sino pong gustong mag-volunteer? Kahit hindi po natin na-solve, mag-volunteer na po tayo.
Oo.
Okay.
Okay, nandyan po yung mga taga-BARM. So we can call somebody
yes,
from
please.
UP. We can call somebody from Iloilo. Nandyan si Miss Pareñas. And we can call somebody from Balangan.
Dr. Nene, can you be the one to Paul, and I actually think kasi this one is a higher level question, we need the help of many teachers. So we will have maybe 2 or 3 teachers answering this kasi ang dami. There's a lot of information here and we want to go through it one by one. So para hindi sila matakot, we will do it as a group. So baka Dr. Nene, you can be the one to call.
Sige po, let's call the people from Iloilo. Si Hazel Pareñas at saka si Liwayway. Ma'am, sama tayo. Tulong tayo para ma-solve natin.
Diyan po si Hazel, ma'am.
Sige, saka may kasama pa siya, si Liwayway, taga Iloilo din. Pareho sila.
Unmute na lang po, Ma'am Hazel from Iloilo. Tapos si Ma'am Liwayway po, hindi ko po siya makita dito. Baka magkasama po sila. Hazel.
Pwede rin sumama sa kanila yung mga taga-Balanga, si Hilda, tsaka si Mr. Villafuerte.
Good.
Wala. Hilda.
Balanga? Para kasama namin kayo sa pag-solve ng problem. Okay, good.
Good morning po.
Morning.
Ayan, sige.
Roberto.
Mr. Villafuerte, hello. Isa-isa lang. Isa-isa lang.
So,
The first part.
Let's do yung first sentence na Ben gave 50 pesos of his salary to his sister. So, paano yan? The drawing.
Siguro po, gawa po tayo ng isang rectangle tapos divide po sa 5 pieces.
Saan po nanggaling yung 5 pieces?
Doon po sa 250.
So ito muna, no? Yung 50 pesos muna. Dito muna.
Mamaya na muna yung 5. Kasi unahin natin yung 50 pesos. So, paano natin ito yun?
Gagawa po ng small box po sa loob ng rectangle. Tapos 50 pesos.
Yun.
Opo.
Sister, 50 pesos.
Yes, opo.
Okay.
Scott, put the 50 pesos inside na, the box.
Sure. Okay.
Divide po yung remaining sa 5.
Yun. So yung remainder, ihahati po natin sa 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Apo. Tapos po, sabi po dyan, spend 2/5. So yung 2/5 po, dalawang box.
Okay. So dalawang box na yan. 1 and 2. Saan po siya napunta?
Yung sa remaining money on transport.
Transport, no? Okay.
And then we spend another 220 on food.
So may papasok po ba? Pwede na ba ngayon ipapasok sa model o mamaya pa? Okay, mamaya pa, no?
Apo.
So yung last is at the end, Ben was left with 1/2 the money he spent on transport. So paano yun?
Ben was left with 1/2 amount of money to i-erase po yung tatlong box. Yung gagahatin po sa dalawa.
So Norberto, yung money he spent on transport, nasaan ba yan ngayon?
Ay, ito po pala sa gitna po.
Dito, no? So ito yung ginastos niya sa transport, no? So ilang box yung ginastos niya sa transport?
Dalawa po.
Dalawa na? So kung yung natira kay Ben, 1/2 yung ginastos niya sa transport, ilang box yung natira sa kanya?
So 3 po.
Paano siya naging 3?
Hindi pala. Sorry.
So ilan yung box?
Ibinalito ako. At the end of the was left 1/2 of the amount of money spent on transport. So yung nalito ako.
So yung gastos na sa tama ka, Norberto, na yung gastos na sa transport, is 2 box.
2 box, opo.
So, yung kalahati nung 2 box is yung natira sa kanya at the end of the week. So, ano yung...
Ano yung kalahati ng 2 box?
1 box po.
Oo,
Yes. Very good.
So, paano po natin i-drawing yung natira kay Ben?
Same ano po, kasi same ano lang naman po siya. Kukunin po natin isang box doon sa...
Exactly. So, yan yung ano, no? Yan yung importante. Hindi po natin kailangang ibura yung boxes kung kasya naman dito yung left with Ben. So tama, no? So far, napasok na natin yung 50 pesos, yung transport na 2/5 of the remainder, kaya naghati po tayo sa 5 at nag-drawing ng 2 box kay transport. At saka yung natira kay Ben at the end of the week is 1/2 yung ginastos niya sa transport. So kung yung transport 2 box, yung natira sa kanya is 1 box, no? So balikan po natin yung 220, Norberto. So saan po natin ipapasok yan?
Dito po, sa natira pong ano.
Okay.
Very good.
So ilang box yung sakop ni 220? 2.
2 po. Divided by 2 po.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So sulatan po natin 220 is 2 boxes. So 110 is exactly, no? 1 box. So paano po natin i-compute yung kabuuan ng box na to, yung buong weekly salary? Ano yung steps natin?
Pwede pong, since nalaman na po natin yung presyo ng isang box. So, hindi pala. Ito yung
tama.
Opo. So, i-count po natin since pareho lang naman po itong ano, itong sa
Exactly.
ano, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times 110.
Exactly.
Is 550 plus 50.
Exactly.
So 600.
Very good.
Thank you.
Galing ni Mr.
Very good.
Very good.
Yun.
Thank you.
Very good, Sir
Thank you
Norberto.
po.
That's correct.
Salamat.
Galing.
So ganun, no? Yung ginawa natin ulit ni Norberto, actually mas mahirap pa sa nakaraang problem. Kasi yung natira kay Ben, kalahati nung ginastos niya sa transport, no? So, dun sa question 8, yung candy sa natira kay Teacher Alma, pareho lang sa binigay niya kay Reyna, kaya tig 1 box sila. Pero dito may dagdag na step na yung natira kay Ben, kalahati lang nung ginastos niya sa transport. Kaya pag-iisipan pa natin yung kung 2 box si transport, 1 box lang dapat yung natira, no? At binalakan nga natin yung 220 na una-una hindi natin naipasok sa model. At ngayon, pagkatapos nun, naipasok na natin at nalaman natin na 220 is 2 boxes. Pagkatapos nun, sabi nga ni Sir Norberto, times 5, 5 yung box, no? So, ano yung halaga ng 1 box? 110. So, ano yung halaga ng 5 box? 550. Tapos may dagdag na 50 dito. Kaya siya 600 all in all. Yon.
Wow. Ma'am Nene, I'm so happy. This is
Natuwa
not an
din po
easy
ako.
question. Di ba? Di ba, Ma'am Nene?
They're trying very hard po. Opo.
I mean, this is excellent. This is really, really good. It just makes me very happy. This is not an easy question.
And then Ma'am, we also see the difficulties in understanding the problem. Kasi there are those who can answer right away, but that is not true to everybody. I find it also difficult. So Mr. Villaferte helped us through the process.
Exactly.
Exactly, Ma'am Nene. I really like the fact that you emphasize how to go about the problem. Diba? Kasi the final answer, I mean, how we get the final answer? And it's not also speed. Diba, Ma'am Nene? It is not speed. We will really want to go through the whole thing, diba? All the information.
Yes, ma'am, because the difficulty I think teachers can solve this and can find the answer. But the more important one is the process. How do we develop the ability of children to go through the process, which is really one by one. It's not really the answer, it's the process which is as important.
Yeah, what I want to say is that this is what I meant by learning to think. The point is that if you do it this way, the students think along with you.
Yes.
And what I try to say is that the whole point of doing math problems, one of them, is you really teach the students how to think. And I cannot emphasize that enough. It's really learning how to think, developing their thinking skills. It's not just finding the answer. It's in fact, I said in one talk recently that you learn a lot more sometimes about thinking from problems you cannot solve. No? So it's not necessarily finding the answer, but learning to think and think deeply and think for a long time. So this kind of thing, the students have to think along. And when they think along, they begin to ask themselves, why this? Bakit ganito? Bakit ganyan? And that is part of the learning how to think process.
Opo, Father. Kasi it can be frightening for students kung pabilisan, di ba? That's why it's very important what you said, Father. Give them time.
Yeah.
And the other students may be deprived of confidence if pabilisan, di ba? So just give them time to think so they will have the confidence.
Hindi lamang yan. As I said in one talk, you can of course look to the back of the book and get the answer,
Yeah.
but that doesn't teach you anything. It doesn't teach you anything.
Opo. Salamat po. Very nice. Very good po. Thank you, Mr. Villafuerte.
Thank you. So sana
Thank
no,
you po.
pagkatapos nung question 8 at question 9, mas klaro na po yung ginawa natin na isasatabi muna natin yung mga information na hindi po natin agad-agad may papasok sa model. Importante din yan. So knowing how to design the model, thinking exercise din po yan.
Opo. Very good po.
Okay, so tuloy po tayo, no? Question 10. Okay. Matatawag po ako ulit for question 10.
Ma'am Nene, maybe you can help us because the last
Nick,
one you called is very good.
Can we get the guys from Iloilo? Kasi integrated school yun eh. Importante yun. Kasi medyo hirap yung integrated school.
Yes,
Ma'am.
ma'am. Ma'am. Ayun po.
Ayan.
Si Marco.
Or si Ma'am Oliva Cabudol ng Oton, Iloilo.
Ayan, good. Sige, kailangan sa Oton. Good.
Opo, Ma'am Oliva, pa-unmute na lang po.
Sige, Ma'am Oliva. Sige.
Ayan na po siya.
Yan, great. Sige po. Lead us through the thinking process. Hindi po importante yung sagot, ma'am. Importante yung how we go through the modeling and thinking. Thank you, ma'am.
Scott, you can read it and everybody will follow.
Yes. So, basahin ko po muna, no? Tessie made cupcakes and bibingka. There were 18 more cupcakes than bibingka. After 46 cupcakes were sold, the number of cupcakes was 1/5 the number of bibingka. How many bibingka were there at the start? So maraming steps po ito. Bagalan po natin. Ma'am Oliva?
Yes, sir.
Hi.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Mag-drawing po tayo muna, no?
First po, gagawa po tayo ng dalawang bar po.
Okay.
Magkasing haba po yung bibingka at saka cupcake.
Okay. Bakit po siya magkasing haba?
And then po, dadagdag po tayo ng extension po sa cupcakes.
Ayun. Okay.
So 18 boxes po.
Tapos 18 boxes. Okay.
After 46 cupcakes were sold, the number of cupcakes was 1/5.
Miss Oliva, isa-isa. After 46 cupcakes were sold, yan muna. Paano natin i-draw yung 46 cupcakes are sold?
After 46 cupcakes were sold, the number of cupcakes was 1/5 of the number of bibingka.
So, ito muna, no? Let's try to draw 46 cupcakes were sold. So, nawala yung 46. So, paano po yung drawing nan siguro?
Parang nawawala po ako.
Okay lang. Go.
Yung clue ko sa inyo is huwag ka munang tumingin dun sa fraction. Kasi kung tingnan mo yung buong sentence, nakakalito eh. So, kaya natin yan. Wala pang fraction. After 46 cupcakes were sold. So far, tama kayo, Ma'am Oliva. Yung cupcake, tama kayo na yung cupcake at yung bibingka una-una pareho. Tapos nilagay mo ng 18. Tama yan. Tama yan. Yun yung una. Tapos yung next, huwag mo muna tingnan yung fraction. I think tatawag kami ng ibang tao para sa fraction. Pero yung 46 cupcakes na wala. Yan na. So kung tingnan mo yung cupcake na sinabi ninyo na tama, paano mo i-draw na yung 46 mawawala? What do you think? Kung ikaw yung bata, ano kaya i-draw? Paano kaya i-draw ng bata yun? Hindi siya mahirap, Ma'am Oliva. Huwag kang matakot dito. Hindi siya mahirap. So, paano siya i-draw?
Okay, magdadagdag po tayo ng yung whole bar po na sa cupcakes po ay kukuha po tayo dyan ng 28.
Okay. So yun nga, no?
Na
Actually,
dalawa po tayo ng 28
dalawang step yung nagawa ninyo, ma'am.
Very good. That's the one.
So 46.
Kasi 46 minus 18 po, so 28.
Yun.
Yes. See?
So,
kuha na ninyo. Ayan.
So yung
Very
lahat na yan,
good.
kumbaga, nawala, no?
So 48.
Okay.
The number of cupcakes was 1/5.
I think you want to go on. Kasi tama ka na, Ma'am Oliva. Sige, we'll go on. You're
So,
correct.
Ma'am Oliva, saan po
was
yung number of cupcakes na natira?
Dito po. Yes po, sir. Pakiulit po.
Saan po sa drawing yung natirang cupcakes?
Nasa ano po siya, nasa left side po siya.
Ito na. So, ito
yung natira. Yes po.
Left. At alam po natin na yung number of cupcakes na natira, 1/5 nung natirang bibingka.
Yes po. So 1/5 ng bibingka. Ibig sabihin po, yung bibingka po, hahatiin po natin sa 5 bahagi.
Ayun.
Yes, correct.
Galing. Very good.
Siguro, ganyan, no?
The number of cupcakes was 1/5 the number of bibingka. How many bibingka were there? How many bibingka were there at the start? How many bibingka were there at the start?
So ano, no? So yung, alam na po natin, yung lahat ng information nandito na. Nasabi po ninyo na yung cupcakes na natira, yung isang box na maliit na to. At yung bibingka.
Okay po. Wait lang po. Sandali lang po. So 28.
Tama po.
28 minus 18, 10 po yun.
Saan po nanggaling yung minus?
Ay, wait lang. So this is 18. This one is 28. So pag kinati po natin sa 5, yung tatlong boxes po ay 28, equivalent to 28. Tama po ba?
Hindi siya 3, 4 siya.
Ay, 1/5 lang pala. Sorry po.
1/5, no? Pero tama po kayo. Na yung 28
so that
na
is 28 po. So 28 divided by 4 po.
Exactly.
Equals 7 po.
Yun.
Okay, so isang box po is 7.
Yun.
So since ang question po natin is how many bibingka were there at the start, so 7 times 5 po tayo.
Yun.
So the answer is 35 bibingka.
Exactly.
Hey.
Tama po. Thank you.
Very
Medyo nalilito
good.
po kasi ako.
No, tama po yung...
Kinakabahan
Very
po
good.
kasi.
Very good, ma'am.
Very good.
Thank you, Ma'am Oliva.
Thank you so much, sir.
Oo. So ano,
Galing,
no?
Ma'am Oliva. Very good.
Yung sinabi po ni Ma'am Oliva, nakita niya na yung 28 na to. So una-una, na-solve na nga agad ni Ma'am na yung 46 na nabentang cupcakes, so kung sabihin natin na yung 18 na to sakop na sa 46, yung 28 yung cupcakes na kinuha sa bar na to 28 na. So kumbaga patas lang nandito 18 tsaka 28. At yung natirang cupcakes 1/5 dun sa natirang bibingka, actually wala namang nabentang bibingka. So same lang siya sa una at sa huli. So ibig sabihin, may hahati natin yung box ni bibingka sa 5. So kung ganun, yung 28 na nandito, patas siya sa 4 na box dito. Kaya yung 28, 4 na box, divide by 4, 7 isang box. Tapos si bibingka, 5 box yung ano niya, yung halaga niya, times 5, 35.
Okay.
Very good.
Galing.
Magaling.
Wow, very
Mahirap
good.
to.
This is galing. This is not easy because you have 2 difficult ones eh. Si Ma'am Oliva nakuha niya na kaagad yung 28. Yan yung una. Yan yung medyo mahirap. Kailangan mo makuha yung 28. Tapos yung ikalawang medyo kailangan ka mag-isip, as Father Ben said, we have to think, is 28 divided by 4. That's the important one. Once you get there, madali na yung sagot. I'm also still very impressed, Ma'am Nene, with the people who are answering. They're very quick. But again, it is not the speed. We want to really know the process. I just want to say that Synergia gave me a private message, pero my gosh, we have 48,000 people, almost 50,000 people listening in.
That's good.
So, wow. Ma'am Nene, you have such wide reach. What's important to me is that they really follow and they understand. So, Ma'am Nene, congratulations. This is so many people.
Kami po ang may utang na loob sa inyo. Ma'am Quina, pwede ko pong itanong kay Ma'am Oliva, paano niya nakuha yung 28? Ano yung...
Yes. Right.
Yes.
Kasi
Very good,
nakuha niya
Ma'am
agad
Nene. Yes. Ma'am Oliva,
Yes,
Ma'am
po, ma'am.
Nene wants to know, and that's a very good question. Yung importante is, paano mo nakita na yung 28, yung 28 tapos 4 na boxes? Saan? Kasi yun yung importante.
Yung 46 po na sold na cupcakes, kinuha ko po dyan yung 18 na nung sobra po sa bibingka. Diba, more than 18 po yung cupcake sa bibingka. So, sinabtract ko po yun sa 48. Kaya nakuha ko yung 20.
Okay.
Sa 18 pala, kaya nakuha ko yung 28.
That's the one.
Okay.
Yan nga eh. Sabi nga ni Father Ben, we have to think. So it's not spelled out for you, but you have to think about it. Whoa!
Very good
I
po.
think kaya pa.
Yeah.
Ma'am Nene, we also did not do, I remember last week, we also did not give a break kasi para sa akin, each minute counts. And I think the teachers are still okay, so we'll go on. We have 30 minutes left, so we'll go on. I don't think the teachers need a break, so, let's go on. Yeah. So,
Okay.
Scott, go.
Question 11. June had an equal number of apples and oranges at first. He threw away 2/3 of the apples as they were rotten. Then he bought another 58 oranges. In the end, June had 5 times as many oranges as apples. How many apples did June have at first? So step by step po ulit tayo, no? I think last time may nagtaas ng kamay
Si Marco.
Ma'am, pwedeng tumawag tayo sa barn?
Dr. Nene, a while ago, there was a teacher called Sir Marco, but I forgot where he is from. Pero he was raising his hand kanina. Difun yata? Difun ba? Is there at Difun? Difun School?
Yes po. Yes po. Si
Tawagan
Sir
po natin
Marco
muna, no?
Valiente.
Sir Marco, this is your
Marco.
chance. you were raising your hand kanina. So walk us through just sentence by sentence. So if you would want, we're giving you a chance because you were raising your hand a while ago. So,
Pa-unmute na lang po, Sir Marco from Difun. Marco
Ay,
Valley.
hello po.
Hi, good morning, Marco.
Good morning po, sir.
So ano no? Step by step po tayo. Simula dito.
Yes po, pero parang medyo pan po siya. Hindi po katulad nung iba.
Okay lang.
Sir Marco,
Step by step natin.
Sir Marco, let's do step by step. Don't go for the final answer yet. Don't go for the final
Yes po,
answer.
ma'am. Yes,
So
ma'am.
isa-isa. Yeah.
June had
Go.
an equal number of apples. So, ano po ba yan? Equal number of apples. So, we will draw siguro, ma'am, yung apples and oranges, sir.
Okay.
Tapos,
Equal number, paano yan?
Pantay.
same box kaya, sir, ang drawing natin.
So same length ng box.
Yes po.
Ganon, no? Okay.
Then, 2/3 of apple has
You threw away 2/3 of the apples. So paano yung 2/3 of the apples?
So, consider, sir, sa apples, magdodraw po tayo ng 3
Okay.
lines.
Okay.
Hatiin po natin ng 3 box.
Okay.
Tapos yung dalawa, ikakwan po natin yan. Kakancel
Okay.
po natin ba?
Tama. Tapos
Then
yung
may natira po
susunod,
pong isa.
he bought 58 oranges.
Plus, ano yan, sir? Mag-a-add po tayo dyan.
Okay.
Ang
So magdadagdag po tayo ng box na
58 po ang
58.
laman.
Yun. Okay. So ganyan. 58 ang laman.
Isang box po.
Okay.
Then, 5 times as apple.
So si oranges, mas malaki ng 5 times kaysa kay apples. Paano
Yes
yan?
po. 5 times. So, mas malaki po siya ng 5. Yung 1 po, so sa taas po kaya is sa apples 5. So ang natira po is marami na yung kasi
si oranges sa wakas.
Opo, si
Yung
orange.
mas marami, no? So paano natin ihahati yung box ni oranges para ipakita na 5 times as many as apples?
Hatiin po natin yung 58 ng 5, sir. Ano ba yan?
Hindi lang 58, no? So kasama din yung buong oranges.
Yan pala. Yes po.
So paano po yung paghati natin?
5.
So 5, ano? So
Yes po,
ilan
5,
ilan
5.
dun sa 5 yung nandito sa kaliwa? Ilan dun sa 5 sa kanan?
Hatiin po natin siya ng 5, sir, ba? Ganun ba yan?
Oo, tama, no? So pero paano siya? Yung ito ba 4 tapos ito 1 or paano ba yung...
Yes sir, 4 and 1. So 5.
So kung tingnan natin yung ano, no, yung paghati ni apples.
Opo, 2/3 po kasi siya. So tinanggal po natin yung dalawa kasi yun po yung bulok na.
Tama. Tapos sa una-una, pareho yung number of apples and oranges.
Yes po.
So kung isusunod po natin yung paghati nung kay apples, ilang box yung nandito?
3 din po ba, sir?
3, no? Exactly.
Very good.
So kung 3 na yung nandyan, ilan yung ihahati dito sa 58?
In the end, June at 5 times. Yan po, 3. So,
3 na to.
meron
So anong kulang?
2 po, sir.
Yon. So ilan yung
Kasi 5
ihati
times
natin?
po siya, sir.
Yon.
Yan na.
So, yung 58,
Hat-
ilan yung
Hatiin
hati
po natin
natin?
siya ng dalawa, sir.
Yun. Okay.
Yes.
Sakto.
Yes.
So,
Wala
i-divide po natin. So, it means, sir, yung 58,
Mhm.
divide by 2 po natin kasi yung 58, dalawang box po ang katumbas.
Yun.
Yes, sir.
So, yung isang box,
yung 1 box is, divide by 2 po natin is 26 po. Ay, 29.
29. Oh, 29. Okay. So, how many apples did June have at first?
Yung apples po. So, kasama na po yung tatlo. So, 29 times 3 boxes po. Yan po. Yung,
29 times 3 is
87 po. Yan po yung. Yan po.
Yun.
Yun po yung
Salamat.
apples, number apples.
Very
Thank
good.
you po, sir.
Thank you, Marco.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you po.
Salamat.
Very good. Nakuha mo.
So hindi rin ito madali, no? Kasi may tinapon na apples, may biniling oranges.
So nakakalito yung statement niya, sir.
Oh.
Thank you po ulit, sir.
Salamat, Marco. Mabuti.
The apples, may biniling oranges.
So nakakalito yung statement niya, sir. Thank you po ulit, sir.
You're welcome. Nakuha naman. Kayo naman nakakuha, Sir Marco. Hindi kami nagbigay ng sagot. So nakuha mo. Okay? Yung binibigay lang namin, clue. And for the teachers who are watching, I think this is the way you do it with your students. When Father Ben and I teach a class, we never give the answer. We keep on leading them because we know that the students can get it. So we keep on giving hints and we wait for the students to get the answer. Okay, so wala kaming hints. So kunwari, maraming beses when Father Ben and I teach the problem-solving class, sabihin ni Father Ben, okay, we'll give you 10 minutes and we'll call you. So Father Ben and I do not rush the students. Okay, so the same way, we are not rushing Sir Marco. We did not rush Miss Oliva. We did not rush. Please, teachers, do not rush your students. Because if you rush your students, matatakot sila.
Yeah.
Yan yun. I think natataranta kayo kasi sanay kayo na pagtingin ninyo sa problem, masasagot ninyo kaagad. But hindi. Even ako, I don't know the answers here. So when Sir Marco is doing it, I'm actually solving it here also on my own. So there is no shame if we do it slowly. But what is important is we really have faith in you. We don't want to give you the answer. So even if the students tell you, ano ba yung sagot? Kasi pagod na sila mag-isip, don't give them the answer. You encourage them and give them time. Di ba, Dr. Nene? I think that's the thing. I think many of the teachers want to be very fast. Di ba, Dr. Nene, you want to comment? I think you want to say something on that one. Di ba?
Hindi po. Lagi kong sinasabi, the process is as important as the answer. In fact, probably sa akin, more important pa yun. Really developing their thinking process. Tatanong ko, bakit mo nakuha yung 58? Parang, saan mo kinuha yun? Paano mo nakuha yung 29? Diba? Maganda po.
And they should not be scared if they don't know the answer kaagad. Diba? Ganun din eh. Diba? So, and they should not expect the students to know the answer kaagad. I think many times the students don't want to recite, diba, Ma'am Nene? Kasi parang hindi nila alam yung sagot, so ayaw nila magsalita. And they end up not learning. So again, the final answer, as Ma'am Nene told us, is not the main thing. It is actually patience and a bit of time. Okay? If it takes a teacher 10 minutes to do it, we can expect maybe the kids to, if you have to do 30 minutes for this, do 30 minutes for this. Okay, so don't rush the children. So, Scott, go on.
Next. Okay. Question 12. Yes, magtatawag po tayo ulit. 2/5 of Rommel's Pokemon cards is equal to 1/3 of Doding's Pokemon cards. Doding has 9 more cards than Rommel. How many cards does Rommel have? Sabay-sabay po tayo. Dr. Nene, you wanted to call someone from BARM?
Opo. Dindo, tawag ka sa, meron kang taga Magunda Dato tsaka sa UP. Pakinggan natin sila.
Meron pong gusto mag-volunteer. Ang makakita po sa inyo ay 46,500 na.
Si Belinda, si Belinda taga UP. Diba? Belinda? Ding, tawagin mo nga si Miss Belinda from UP.
Eh, Ma'am Belinda, pa-unmute na po. Belinda Dedosin.
Yeah.
Belinda na nandito. Pa-unmute, Ma'am Belinda.
Okay na, layo-layo niyang UP. Iimbitahin kita dyan.
Ma'am Belinda, pa-unmute na po. Ayan, andyan na po siya.
Ma'am, mahina ang signal namin, ma'am, kasi nasa bundok ako.
Okay lang po.
Ma'am Belinda, you're very clear. Ang lakas. Galing.
Ganon.
Salamat na nandito ka. Very clear. Don't worry. Go.
Sige po, samahan po kayo ni Scott, Ma'am Belinda.
Sige po, step by step po
Maglipat
tayo.
ko na ako sa puno ng kahoy, ma'am.
Okay, ako makaakyat sa puno.
Wag. Natatakot ako. Lumipat kayo. Baka mawala. Okay to. Okay to. Dito.
Maglilipat lang ako, ma'am. Maglipat lang ako ng pwesto.
Baka mahulog po kayo sa puno.
Hindi po, hindi. Maglipat lang po ako kasi nasa school po ako.
Umakit sila sa puno para makakuha ng signal.
Okay.
Pero klaro Ma'am Belinda.
Pwede na si Ma'am Belinda. Okay, nakababa na siya sa puno.
Si Romel ay
mahirap talaga. Kaya naiiyak ako sa tuwa.
Pakinggan na po natin si ma'am.
Equals to 1/3 o doon. Siguro, sir, mag-drawing ng ano.
Si Romel muna. Yeah.
Po, mag-drawing tayo box.
Okay.
Para kay Romel.
Sorry. Kay Romel. Okay. Yan.
Po, tapos mag-drawing din ng para kay ano yan, Dodings?
Kay Doding.
Opo.
So, si Romel muna, no? Sabihin po natin, paano po mag-drawing ng 2/5 kay Romel?
Opo, sir. Lima, sir. Lima, sir. Lima hati.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. And then, ang kay Doding po ay tatlo. Mag-drawing po tayo ng equal doon sa box ni Romel.
So,
is equal to 1/3 of Doding's Pokemon's card. So, mag-drawing din po tayo para kay Doding. Yes, ma'am?
Ma'am Belinda, tama kayo doon sa lima. Pero paano mo ipakita yung 2/5? Ilan yung isa-shade mo sa lima kung 2/5?
Sa 2/5 kasi 2/5 of Romel's Pokemon cards is equal to 1/3 of Doding's Pokemon card. So, ibig sabihin, ma'am,
2/5. 2/5 muna, ma'am.
Tatlo Ano yan?
Ilang box?
Dalawa, ma'am.
Dalawa. Okay.
Dalawa.
Siyempre, 2.
Okay.
Kailangan yan. Ayan.
Tapos yung kay Doding,
equal sa 1/3 o Doding's Pokemon cards.
okay. So, yung 1/3 ni Doding, gaanong kalaki?
Dali lang, ma'am. Nalilito ako. So, okay, yung 1/3 ni Doding ay equals kay 2/5 of Romel's Pokemon card is equals to 1/3 of Doding's Pokemon. Siguro, sir, mag-drawing muna tayo.
Okay. Nang alin?
Ang 1/3 ni Doding ay kasing laki nung 2/5 ni ano.
Ayun. So, tama.
Very good. Yan.
Tapos, dalawa.
And then, sir, mas marami yung ano kay Doding ng 9 more cards.
Okay. So, paano po natin ipapasok?
Saan yung kay Doding? Magdagdag ng ano, sir, ng 9 more. Yung sa isang box, 9 siguro.
Ganon, no?
Opo, sir. My God, parang di ko alam. How many cards does Romel have?
So, ina muna natin, no? Yung box yung mga box ni Doding, ihati muna natin, no? Para patas doon kay Romel.
Po, yan sir, itapat. Yan
Ayun,
dyan.
itapat. Sige.
Yes sir, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So ibig sabihin sir, bawat box 9.
Yun, tama.
Wow! Yes, tama.
Okay.
Yan na yun.
Galing.
So ilang box yung kay Romel?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 9 times 5.
Yun, 9 times
Yan.
5, 45.
Yes sir.
Yun na po ang sagot. 45 yung cards ni
Congratulations.
Romel.
Congratulations,
Wow.
Teacher Belinda.
Galing.
Tama.
Po,
You got the answer.
Nasa
Thank you,
taas pa po
ma'am.
yan ang puno.
Salamat. Thank you, Belinda.
Nasa school ako, Ma'am Nene. Miss you, Ma'am Nene. Miss you, Sir Dindo.
Nanonood si Mayor Piyang.
Ay, ganon. Makahiya. Sana kung di ako nakasagot.
Ang galing mo.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, teacher.
Ma'am Quina, I just have a comment, no, and I would like to commend all the other teachers because we have different abilities. So we have to be patient and wait for the others. But of course, we cannot let the very bright ones wait forever. That's why it's very important for us to give special work to those, but really wait and understand that others have different paces of thinking. That's also for teachers. Some of them are very fast. Some of them take time to be able to think, but we just have to think of all the others.
Well said, Ma'am Nene. I think that's why when Ma'am Belinda was also talking and doing the correct thinking, I was actually still laughing kasi Ma'am Nene, nakikita natin yung ano, 'di ba, sa Zoom. Ang dami-dami nang sumasagot ng mga so many. Pero you know, Ma'am Nene, you're right. We need to know the process and we don't cater to the fastest. I think Father Ben even told me long ago, he was talking with a Japanese professor, I think, Father Ben, wherein the Japanese professor told him that our country can only be run at the pace of the slowest, I think the slowest people.
Yes.
So we cannot leave, you know, people behind. So that's also the same with math. But Ma'am Nene, you're also right. We cannot, that's why we need to, for me, the way I teach is I cater to the middle. So for the faster ones, I tell them, I will challenge you with more difficult, more complex problems because parang, you know, I don't want you to be bored or you think it's ganyan. The slower ones, we do give remedial work. We really, I think, Ma'am Nene, actually, I think we have to stress also with DepEd that we really need to give remedial work because there are always going to be people who are slower than the others. So it's probably safer to cater to the majority that are in the middle, diba? So the majority in the middle who are not very fast or not very slow, they get it, but then we also have to give help to those who are slow and we also have to challenge those who are fast.
Yes, ma'am.
So, diba? That's the ano. It's not easy. It's not easy to do that, especially with with very big numbers. But when Father Ben told me that before, it always so parang we know that there are people who are fast, but we also need to sometimes be at the pace of those who cannot do it as fast, diba? So
Yes.
that's ano.
Thank
So
you.
thank you, Ma'am Nene, for reminding us about that. Scott, I think we have time for one last problem.
Yes.
Yeah, one last problem. Ayan.
So last, no? Question 13. 2/3 of Maria's marbles is equal to 5/7 of Cholo's marbles. Cholo has 6 fewer marbles than Maria. How many marbles does Maria have? Magtawag po tayo.
Any volunteer po? Mag-raise lang po kayo ng hand.
For the last question.
Nagsosolve na yata po sila, Doc Queen.
Nagsosolve sila, alam ko. I know they're solving. But again, please, I also don't know the answers. So if you just put the answer on chat, I cannot comment. We would prefer it if somebody will lead us through the solution. So, Ning, can you call anyone? Ma'am Nene,
Sige po.
from the locations, maybe from the different regions?
Ma'am, may gusto po kayong...
Hindi, okay, kasi nakasagot na yung Central Luzon, Iloilo, and BARM. Masaya na ako doon kasi I heard them.
Opo. Balanga po, andito rin po ang mga taga Bataan. Balanga, baka merong gusto sumagot from Balanga. Si Sir Randy. Or si Ma'am Winnie. Sir Alain. Yan po, kahit sino po sa inyo, mga taga Balanga.
Yeah, Balanga City National Science
Balanga
High School.
City.
Yeah, because you're also
Yes,
a science
opo.
high school. Yeah, can you lead us through this from Balanga?
Natutuwa ako sa kanila, Ma'am Queen, kasi kung mag-text sila sa akin, Sinerhiya Balanga. So, feeling nila talaga, Sinerhiya.
Sige, from Balanga. Yeah, can we have...
Unmute na lang po tayo, either si Sir Randy, Ma'am Winnie, Sir Alain, Sir Rafi.
Maybe even 2 or 3 of them at once. You know,
Yeah,
one,
okay.
Opo. One can do the 2/3,
Opo.
another one can do the 5/7, and ganyan. So Ning, you know them. Can you call them?
Okay, Sir Randy, Ma'am Winnie, and Sir Alain. Pa-unmute po. Nako, ayaw nila.
Meron ka din taga-Itogon, Ning, di ba?
Yes.
Tawagin mo yung taga-Itogon.
Opo, Ma'am Lori Lee from Itogon. Ito tayo, try natin.
Sige, Ma'am Itogon.
Ma'am Lori Lee.
Nasagot ko pa yan.
Ma'am Lori Lee Balanag of Itogon. At saka sila, Ma'am Madonna rin po. At Sir Abe. Abe Marie. Mga taga-Itogon po. Unmute lang po kayo. Don't be shy. Bundok rin po kasi sa Itogon. Nahirapan din ang signal.
Nakasakay pa yan sa kabayo. Sige, Ma'am. Tawagin mo yung mga taga-Itogon. Go.
Unmute na lang po, Ma'am Madonna, Ma'am Marie, Ma'am Miriam.
Ma'am Madonna, sige, go tayo.
Ma'am Madonna, unmute na po. Nako. Ayaw po nila mag-unmute, Ma'am eh.
O yung taga-vegan.
O, vegan na lang daw po. Si Ma'am Marita, Ma'am Marilu. Unmute po.
Nagdadala natin na empanada si Ma'am Queenie.
Opo. Empanada. At saka ano po, bagnet.
Yeah, right. At saka lagulisa.
Leonardo Castañeda. Sige na po mga taga-vegan. Unmute lang po kayo kahit 2 or 3 raw po sa inyo. Sige po at sasabihin natin kay Mayor Carlo. Ayan na si Ma'am Marita.
Yan, very good.
Hi, morning.
Thank you, Ma'am. Ma'am, we will do it step by step, Ma'am. We'll do it step by step. Isa-isa.
Okay po, so yung first step po,
Mhm.
gagawin ng box for Maria's marbles.
Okay.
And then divide it into 3 parts.
Okay.
And then for Cholo's marble,
Mhm.
below it. For 2/3 of that of Maria, be sure na yung 5/7
Mhm.
yung Cholo is equal po. So,
Okay.
but 5 parts doon kay Cholo, bale naka-align po doon sa 2/3 of Maria.
Okay.
At po siya sa 5 parts. Tapos
Okay.
magdagdag pa po ng 1/5 to make it 7/7.
Okay.
Is equal to 5/7 of Cholo. Tapos, yung kay Cholo daw po is 6 fewer marbles than Maria. So,
Mhm.
kapag align po yung 7/7 nung kay Cholo,
Mhm.
doon kay Maria, ibig sabihin 6 pa po yung natitira doon sa right part. Ayan po.
Okay.
Good. Very good.
So yung kanina po, ano na ba yung next step na? 2/3 of Maria's marble.
So paano natin sisiguraduhin na pantay yung 2/3 tsaka yung 5/7?
2/3.
Which is, Ma'am Marita, the easiest is ilan yung isi-shade natin dun sa 2/3 para makita ng lahat ng tao na nanonood. Kasi lahat puti pa eh. Pero kailangan natin i-shade yung 2/3. So, yung sa unang, yung nasa taas, ilang box shade natin? Pakisabi na lang.
2 po.
Ayan.
Okay.
Tapos yung sa baba, yung kay Cholo, 5/7. Hanggang saan yung pagka-shade? In ilang box siya?
5 po.
Ayan. Ayan. Kita na. Kita na ng mga nanonood. Ayan. Klaro na.
So ngayon yung tanong, yung box, yung mga box ni Maria na medyo hindi pa siya same size dun sa mga box ni Cholo. Iba pa yung laki nila. Paano natin sila isa-standardize?
Yan yung mahirap dito eh. Kasi yung box ni Maria ang laki-laki. Pero yung box ni Cholo mas maliit. So ano yung pwede nating gawin para ipantay? So ano kaya yung guguluhin ba natin yung box ni Maria o guguluhin natin yung box ni Cholo para maging pantay sila?
Paano po kaya?
Kunwari kayo yung bata, nakita to ng bata. Ano kaya yung mas mabilis? Yung box ni Maria na malaki, gagawin nating mas maliit? O yung box ni Cholo na maliit, gagawin nating mas malaki? What do you think yung sasabihin ng bata?
Siguro pag ako yung bata, mas malaki, mas madali yung kapag si Cholo gawing mas malaki po.
So, yung yung alam na po natin, yung dalawang naka-yellow na kulay, no? Kasing haba. Pero yung sa taas, dalawang mahabang box.
Opo.
Dito sa baba, 5 box na medyo ibang size, no? So paano natin ihahati yung mga box nila para masasabi natin na same number of boxes dun sa taas at dun sa baba?
So kapag yung kay Cholo po yung hinati, magiging 2 1/2.
Oo. So magiging 2 1/2.
Third.
Okay.
Third that of Maria.
So kung sabihin natin na ayaw natin ng 2 1/2, no? Gusto natin na kasi yung 1/2 na yan medyo mahirap para sa bata, no?
Yes po.
So hahatiin po natin yung kay Maria at saka yung kay Cholo. So kung 2 yung nasa taas, 5 yung nasa baba, ilan siguro yung anong number na makakapasok ng 2 at saka 5?
10 po.
10, no?
Very
so,
good.
Sakto, no?
Yan
so,
yun.
Yung kay Maria, yung isang box na to, ilan yung ihahati natin?
Magiging 5 po.
Yun. 1,
Wow,
2,
very
3,
good.
4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Dito kay Cholo, ilan yung ihahati natin sa isang box?
Bale. 2 po.
2, no? 1,
Very
2,
good.
3, 4, 5. So, ipapantay din po natin na yung butaw na box ni Maria, 1, 2, 3, 4. At yung box ni Cholo, ganon.
Yes po.
Magbilang po tayo, no? Ilan na yung mga box ni Maria? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Tapos yung kay Cholo, ilan ba? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 boxes. Actually, medyo
13 po, son.
dapat
not 13 or 14?
should be 14, di ba? Kasi 7 yung ano niya.
Yeah. Scott, make your boxes more aligned.
Yeah.
You drew too small.
Yeah, I'm drawing here para yon. So tama, no? Nag-umpisa tayo sa 5 sevens. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 na blue. Tapos naghati po tayo sa dalawa, kaya naging 14.
Yes po.
Okay. So ibalik po natin yung sinabi niyo kanina na si Cholo, 6 fewer marbles than Maria. And nandito, ano na pong masasabi natin?
So it means po na 1 box is equivalent to 6 marbles. Sir.
Yon. So how many marbles does Maria have?
So since there are 15 boxes for Maria's marbles, we multiply 15 by 6 po.
Okay. So yung sagot ay...
So there will be 20 marbles in all po for Maria.
Yun. Salamat.
Very good.
Yeah.
And I think the question on everybody's mind, the most important step here, Ma'am Marita, which you got. How did you know? Yung tinanong ka ni Scott kanina, how did you know na yung kay Maria, you have to make the boxes into 10? Kasi yan yun, tama ka. Tama ka yun. Paano?
Ng 2 at 5, ma'am.
Kasi yan yung mahirap eh. Yan yung tatanungin ng mga bata. How did you know that yung 2 boxes ni Maria na malaki, ginawa mong 10? That's it. That's it. Kung nakuha mo yun, kuha mo na. Paano mo naisip? Kasi tama siya.
Ma'am, kasi po yung least common multiple po ng 2 and 5 is 10 po, ma'am.
Yun.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. So,
yan yung mahirap para sa bata, actually. Yung iisipin mo na kailangang 2 and 5 dapat magiging 10. At sana sa pag-drawing na to, mas makikita nila na yun yung tamang paraan, di ba?
Scott, how did Xavier teach you this? Because you guys were doing this in grade 4 and your teacher did not say anything about least common multiple. I think if I remember looking at the Singapore math books, that it was trial and error, di ba?
Yeah, yung ano lang, it was really, you see na 2 box dun kay Maria. And 5 box yung nasa baba. And yung una-una actually is yung sinabi din ni Teacher Marita na yung isang box ni Maria na malaki is equal to 2.5 boxes dun sa baba. Kasi you can see it. And so yung sasabihin ng teacher is ayaw natin ng half box. So ihahati na lang natin yung dito sa gitna. At tuloy ihahati din natin yung lahat ng mga box. And so the first step would be yung 5 boxes magiging 10 muna. Then makikita na po natin na yung isang box ni Maria sa taas na malaki, sakop niya 5 maliit na box. So sabihin natin, okay, edi gawin na lang nating 5 boxes din yung sa taas para hindi na po tayo magsasabi na box ni Maria tsaka box ni Cholo, parehong box na para sa lahat. So it's really reasoning.
I think you have to repeat this because I have so many schools have consulted me, and many of these schools are private schools in Metro Manila. Okay, and they are doing Singapore math. The thing is, even if they're doing Singapore math, they find it very difficult to explain to the kids, diba, how to do this. Kasi I've seen it. Kasi there's one Filipino Chinese school actually that told me they were having problems with Singapore math. And they were very disappointed because it made everything more muddled. So I sat in the way that they taught it. But yes, it muddled the kids because the way that the teachers were trying to do Singapore math model, but they were still using American methods. So no wonder the kids were nahihilo. So I sat in the class wherein, something similar to this one, wherein the teachers could not explain why they were dividing it. So the teachers ended up saying, okay, everyone, this is something called least common multiple, and then they went into least common multiple, greatest common factor, which Singapore math did not do. So schools, I know many of you are adopting it, and I really love the fact. I think Ateneo was the first one to do Singapore math in the country 20 years ago, when Father Ben actually asked the Ateneo teachers to go to Singapore, and they sat in the Singapore and then basically Ateneo is the first school in the Philippines to do Singapore math. And then many of the Jesuit schools followed. And then many of the other private schools followed. So now I know the Singapore math people told me there are more than 100 schools in the Philippines that are doing Singapore math, which is making us very happy. The one thing I'm very scared though is I think many of the schools are doing it, but they're teaching it still the American way. So if you do it that way, you're going to muddle the kids. So for instance, a question like this, I did see that the way the teachers were saying it, kasi hindi nga nila ma-explain eh. So they went back to the American way. They say, this is ganito kasi you remember what we told you about the least common denominator, the greatest common factor, and the multiple, which is okay. But that's not what Singapore math is doing. Singapore math does not use the jargon. Okay, so Singapore math doesn't use the jargon. Singapore math wants you to get it visually from the model. So if you were to suddenly put the American terms into it, the kids will be muddled. So I've seen it happen with many of the schools in Metro Manila, many of the top schools in Metro Manila, which means teachers, I'm so happy you're doing it, but try to, yung tanong ko sa inyo is, try to make it appropriate to the grade level that you're handling. So that's the one that I told some of them are Filipino Chinese schools with very, very good math. So they were trying to do Singapore math because they know this is helping their weaker students. And yet they were still doing the old American way and trying to input it here. So they had to come to me because they said it's not working. I said, why is it not working? And then I literally sat in the classroom and I saw, oh my gosh, if you're doing the American terms into Singapore math, for instance, Singapore math does not even care, for instance, ito yun. This is what one top school told me. They were having problems with something like, should something be 6 times 9 or 9 times 6? Okay, they were quarreling and then they wanted me to mediate. They said if we say that this is 6 times as many, ganyan, 6 times as many as 8. They were arguing, should we do 6 times 8 or 8 times 6? I told them, who the heck cares? I said, I don't care if you do 6 times 8 times or 8 times 6 because it's the same thing. But they told me, but we're using an American book wherein they were actually differentiating between something is 6 times 8 and 8 times 6. I said, just scrap that. I said, what's important is 6 times 8 is equal to 8 times 6. I don't really care which one comes first. So I said, just junk that book. I actually told them to take out that book. I said, just please go to the Singapore book. Take out the hybrid of American book. Don't go into that. Just use it visually. So maybe that's one thing I would want. I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly, but that was exactly what I told them when I saw that they were attempting to use the model method. And I was so happy that their school was attempting to do it, but they said that it was backfiring. They said that when they were doing the Singapore methods, lalo lang nahilo yung mga bata. I said, it's impossible na lalo silang mahilo. So I sat in and I saw they were doing the model, but they were doing American terms. So I was a bit, so no wonder nahihilo yung mga bata. So actually, ang ginawa ko, ako na nagturo. So nang ako nagturo, parang kuha ka agad ng mga bata kasi nga I was not doing the American term. So it's a bit difficult if you use American methods and you try to put it in Singapore math. Maybe I may ask Father Ben's thoughts on this one. There's a different way kasi Americans do it versus Singapore math. And if you're going to still use Singapore math, we're going to do the American method. The kids are going to be quite confused, which is happening with some of the private schools in Metro Manila that are attempting to do Singapore math. So I actually talked to some Ateneo and Xavier school teachers to tell them maybe you have to help some of these schools because they're attempting to use Singapore math, but they're still steeped in the American method. So Father, maybe a little bit on US method, which is not exactly the same as the Singapore method. So maybe in your experience, Father.
Well, anyway, that's a difficult question because there's no single American system. There's so many every district in the U.S. has a different textbook. So that's quite. But anyway, the main point I would make is that the thing with the American approach is that they really don't emphasize problem solving as much, at least in most schools, and they don't emphasize process as much. I have no easy answer to that, Aquina. I think you just have to learn it. But I just point out one thing that surprised me about the Singapore math textbooks being used in the Philippines. I had one session with the Ateneo de Davao, and they had these Singapore math books. I was quite surprised how much time they were doing about mixed numbers, 2.5, 3.14. I can understand that with Singapore because they use also the British imperial system, pounds and so forth. In my opinion, it makes no difference if you totally use the metric system. No? So I would maybe you should take a look at the Singapore textbooks that are used in the Philippines, and I don't see why you have to spend time on mixed numbers. They're totally useless if you're doing the metric system. They should just learn more of the decimals. They should learn more decimals. So that is I can appreciate. Singapore connects with the UK. And the UK, understandably, they have to mix the metric and the imperial system, and so they have to have this, or in other words, centigrade, Fahrenheit is 9/5 also, so that kind of stuff. So anyway, I just want to, because it's not anything wrong, but I was surprised how much time they were taking with it. Just too much time. So maybe you should take a look at Singapore books that are totally, as much as possible, totally metric, and more into simply. Because I tell them that you'll never see mixed fractions again in high school. 9/5 is 9/5. No? And it makes no sense except for computational methods with the metric and the imperial system. Anyway, they were spending too much time on it, and I was quite surprised to see that in their textbooks.
Some percent, some ratio.
Decimal, yeah, decimal and percent are very much so. A bit of ratio, decimal and percent. Let's take out all the numbers, di ba? Father, we'll do yung mga 1:3, ganun na lang. No? Which is not
that's fine. That's fine.
And then we'll go into like 20% and 30%, yung ganon.
That's fine.
And we'll go into the decimals. So yun na lang. So for our last session, we'll go into what Father Ben said. We'll take out all the mixed up. Father, you're right. We don't really use so many mixed numerals.
Because that only makes sense if you have to compute, if you have to convert from metric system to the imperial system, English system. Yeah. That's the only reason it makes sense. No?
But in the Philippines, we're also metric. So Scott,
and if you buy something that's true, you go into decimals.
Yeah.
Yes. So Scott, basically, definitely, we will not spend time on any mixed numerals. We will go into, ratio, we need to do that. A bit of percent, we need to do that. And the decimals. So yun. I think that would be our topic for the last session. Thank you, Father, for saying that. Father, you're right. Singapore, even the book Ateneo de Manila uses has a lot of mixed numerals. But you're right. Maybe that's one thing that they can just do a bit of. Diba? A little bit lang, maybe just once or twice, but not the entire chapter. You're right, Father. Singapore does put a lot of
because in their system they have to use it, but we don't use it in our system.
Yes. So more time on decimals and ratio and percent.
Yes.
Diba? So yan yung natin. So next week yan yung ratio, decimal, percent yung gagawin natin. So it's we went overtime again, but I think everybody is still here. So thank you so much. Father, thank you for spending your entire morning with us.
I'm happy to do that.
And and the practically almost 50,000 teachers that tuned in today. We hope that you learned something. I would like to really thank everybody, Ma'am Nene, Ma'am Ningning. Scott, you want to say something before we end, and then we'll have Ma'am Nene end the session?
Yeah, I think thank you sa lahat na nakikinig at nag-participate din. We actually finished all the questions we had planned for today, which is a lot, no? And they're not very easy. So congratulations to everyone. We'll pick up with ratio and percent next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
Scott.
much.
Thank you so much po. God bless.
Salamat po. So we'd like to thank again Doc Quina and Scott for making it so nice for all of us, including us in Synergia. We are not math teachers. We're not even teachers po, but we truly enjoyed it. We wish talaga na sana ganito noon ang math namin para wala kaming fear. But anyway, we'd like to thank also Ma'am Nene and Father Ben who spent the entire morning with us. Thank you for making it even clearer for us. Salamat po sa lahat, and especially salamat sa lahat ng teachers natin, both sa Facebook Live po at saka dito sa Zoom. Thank you po, and we hope to see you next week. And don't forget po, kung may mga teachers pang gustong sumali, meron naman po tayong Facebook Live na pwedeng balik-balikan. So puntahan lang muna nila yung session 1 at yung session 2 bago po sila mag-join ng session 3 next week. At bibigyan natin ng certificates ang mga makaka-complete ng 3 sessions. Basta i-consolidate lang po ang listahan per LGU at isasubmit po sa amin. Ganun lang po. So happy lunch everyone. Thank you Doc Quina and Scott again, Father Ben and Ma'am Nene. And
Thank you po.
Bye-bye.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
po.
Thank you.
Thank you po. Thank
Happy
you.
Valentine po, Ma'am Quina, Father Ben.
Thank you. Thank you, Ma'am Nene. Thank you. Happy Valentine's, everyone. Bye-bye.
Ma'am Bel, baba ka na sa puno.
Bye, Dindo. Salamat.
Bye. We are
Thank you, Sir Dindo.
short of 48,000. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you po.
Bye, Ma'am Nene. Ning.
Happy birthday, Cap. Happy
Ayun.
Valentine.
Thank you. Happy Valentine's, Ma'am.
His birthday,
Happy
ha?
birthday, Cap.
Magaling na ako ang problem solving, Ning. Just draw a box and divide it by different boxes. So,
Ikaw rin
diba?
ba yung nagturo kay Dr. Quina?
Hindi po, Ma'am.
Hindi mo na kayang sabihin
Hindi
yan.
po ganyan ang math namin nung elementary kami. Kaya very good. Singaporean way.
Opo.
So Winkle, arithmetic ka pa yata eh.
Happy birthday, Sir Ed.
Uy, thank you po, Ma'am. Natuto ka ba, Ma'am Marwilin?
Yes, sir.
Ganyan bang
Always
sistema
present,
panturo? Ganyan ba sistema panturo mo sa mga Muslim brothers and sisters natin?
Ituturo ko yan, sir.
Yan, very good.
Ay,
Happy birthday, Ed. Happy birthday.
Mga taga Baguio dumating rin po. Tapos sabi nila, ginamit na nila last week yung natutunan nila. So, tinatry na nilang gamitin. So, okay daw. Kasi well received ng mga bata.
Very good, very good. Lalo ngayon at pandemic,